Podcast. Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob, and today we're not joined by Mel. Unfortunately, she's very tired. Only got about 6 hours of sleep in the last 2 days and was forced to do hard modes and all kinds of things from a small hotel room with bad Wi-Fi. So she's getting a break and a pass for this week. But we do have, returning to the show, Tank Extraordinaire Corpse. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Bob. How are you?
Doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And for the first time on the show, we have FruehTV. How you doing?
Hey, Bob. Doing good. Thanks for having me, man.
Awesome. All right. Just let everybody know what we're going to do for the show. So we're going to go through a couple voicemails, talk about what we've been doing lately in WoW, go over a little bit of news, and then at the end of the show, we are going to do some Ulduar tips and tricks. So, that's going to be the show. Oh, also in there somewhere, I will have Yip's raid progression for our hard modes this week. Not sure where I'll be slotting it in, so it'll be there somewhere. All right. I'd like to start off the show by saying thank you so much to our tank patrons in Thick Lizzie, Croxford, Braxton, and Turtle Whale. I'd like to tell everybody that we do stream the show live on twitch.tv/BlazinBob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Actually, I take that back. There's no underscore. Sorry. Just got back from the airport and I am just a little bit out of sorts, but we will get through this. Okay, so first off here, since we traditionally interview someone who's their first time on the show, so we're not going to have time to do that this week. So Free, I wanted to give you a second just to tell people kind of a short background on what you do and what you do now in all the different GDKPs that you run.
Yeah, sure. So I've been playing since vanilla. I played a one runner. I ended up quitting during Wrath and in the OG, and played every expansion, leveled up a tune, and then quit over and over again. Then I played the private servers for a little while. And heard Classic was coming back, and pretty much just went all in. And now this is my only hobby, and I pretty much just play this game 24/7. I'm that really annoying guy on Reddit who posts like all of his characters, and they're completely all phase 1 bis pretty much. And now I'm kind of doing it again in phase 2, but the raids take a lot longer and it's a lot harder. So probably not going to get as geared as I did for phase 1. It's just too easy. But now I just kind of do a lot of GDKPs in the Benediction Discord. I'm just now starting up my own Ulduar GDKPs, and then raid with the guild. Pretty much it.
Nice. All right, well, good deal. All right, let's jump into some voicemails. And just a reminder to everybody, the number is 816-866-1066. And then you can also go to speakpipe.com/Warcraft Reloaded. And you can leave messages there too. So we encourage that for people that are out of the country. Someone called in today, and I guess they've called in a couple times now, and they said they're in Canada. They did long distance. I felt so bad. You don't have to do that, guys. You can go to speakpipe.com/Warcraft Reloaded. I felt so bad for you doing long distance. So, yeah, just remember that, guys. All right, here's our first one.
Hey, Bob and Mel and Bob. I play an Orc Warlock on the Realm White Mane for the Guild Valorant Fight Club, and I just had a question for you, or anybody, whoever your guest is this week. I don't know who it might be, but if anybody there has leadership experience, any tips or tricks you have for recruiting? Because I find it very difficult to find decent people nowadays. It seems like they're all kind of stuck with the top guilds. So we have a couple of spots for a solid DPS. I'm not even looking for like a purple or pink parser, just someone that can parse the blues and maybe low purples, and just can play reliably every week. And it seems like even that is pretty difficult to find these days. I'm on the White Main Discord and putting in trade chat macro, trying to find a couple people, and they just seemingly don't exist. And the one that do exist, they expect an Algalon clear every single week. So kind of difficult to provide that, because right now we're 5 out of 9, but we do have 2 of the easier fights coming up in Vezix and Flame Leviathan. So I imagine those will go down pretty quick, and we'll be 7 out of 9. But even then, it still seems like it's pretty difficult to find people. So I guess my question for anybody there is, what kind of advice do you have, or is there a special place that I'm not looking that is, more reliable when you're trying to find decent players? But yeah, any advice, or I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Anyways, thanks, and shout out to the boys in Dollar and Fight Club. I know one of them, Wood Vibes, I'm pretty sure listens to this, so maybe he'll hear it, and maybe one day our Mage Say So will catch it up to me. But anyways, y'all have a good.
Awesome. I'll make sure to ask Yip too when he comes on. But do you guys have any tips and tricks for recruiting?
So I've been leading guilds since original BC, and every time that I've come back to play, usually my friend group always comes back and end up recruiting and doing the first raid usually. For Classic, it is rough. I agree with you. I was on Herod. I transferred over to Netherwind. We tried to start our guild up. Could not. Netherwind was dying when we got there, so that was great. Then went to Benediction and kind of we actually ended up joining a guild and then kind of like making a second guild within a guild. But it's rough out there. I know exactly what you mean. Some of the things that my guys have done in the past, I have one guy who's literally recruited people on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
I've had guys basically just spamming the Discord. I mean, even now, we have a 27-man roster. We still spam our recruitment every day, every 6 hours or so.
So just in trade chat?
We typically, unless we're really hurting on people, we won't do trade chat. But yeah, if you need people, you need to get your name out there anywhere you can. And I know how hard it is to recruit. It is not an easy task.
Do you put it in like the server Discord, or is there any other Discord servers where you can find that type of outlet?
I mean, we do it in the Benediction Discord. If you're looking for a specific class, you probably could go onto the class Discords. I'm not sure if they actually do recruitment on those. I know Warcraft Logs has a recruitment section that they kind of started up not too long ago. Yeah, but like I said, just anywhere you can recruit, just get something out there so if people are looking, make sure that they're able to find you.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Warcraft Logs is a really kind of bad thing when it comes to the recruiting, because if you don't get your times right, like, you'll think like your raid leader's being a hard ass, just like rushing, but he has to, or he or she has to, because like people look at that and it makes it harder to recruit. Like, if you don't have all the hard modes down, and if your times are really long, like people look at that, and especially people that, are going to be staying with you. Like they're looking prior to coming in and just like rolling the dice, like they're weighing their options, so it is
It is rough.
Corpse, you got anything?
most of what stuff that's already been said before. One thing I will add is it is very hard to recruit in Classic when you are quote unquote behind the progression curve. It is really, really nasty.
Yeah, you can, I mean, right now, if people are expecting Algalon kills, I mean, you could just educate them and be like, dude, only 15% of guilds have done that. So if you can get in one of those, then more power to you, buddy. But if you're not in a guild already, I don't know if a spot's going to be there for you for that. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not like the YouTubers paint a false picture of what everybody's doing. Most people are not killing Algalon. It's you got to be in a pretty good guild. So there is that too. There's just a lot of people that have unrealistic expectations, and maybe a little education on that might, just have them, go check out Warcraft logs and see. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I can really think of. The also, Facebook thing's new.
Yeah, that was kind of a crazy attempt of recruiting. I think we did actually recruit a couple of people that way, though. But also just playing the game, going into dungeons, you're doing pub groups, that kind of stuff. If you find somebody who you get along with, and those obviously, it's like the old and tested way of recruiting people was meeting them in game. But most of the time, they're snagged up in another guild. So
yep.
It's rough.
One thing you can do is you could definitely sometimes find people that are alts that are willing to join your other guild. And those can be some really good people to join because they have experience killing the things you haven't killed, so that can be really, really nice. All right, well, thank you for your voicemail, and I'll try to remember to ask Yip. Try to remember. Chat, if anybody's in here for Yip's thing tomorrow, remind me.
Hey guys, Thunder here again. Update from our last week's prog with Council and Hodier. We did get Hodier down last week at the cost of me having to switch from my warrior main to go on my fire mage because we were just a little bit off. We might have been able to do it if I stayed on my warrior, but it made it a lot easier. And I guess it just sucks for me you won't get the neck, so I got to change up that's my bis in case I have to continue to bring my mage and kind of make a new set a bit for my warrior, because the bis neck for warrior, or at least for horde warrior, since we need a little extra hit, is off of Hodier. So yeah, I got to change it to the Vezak's neck. I just had to end up changing one of my rings to make up for the hit. It ended up actually sitting higher, the new set I made, but kind of annoying to have to bring my mage to one fight, but not a big deal either. I just want to get the bosses down. As for the voicemail, I didn't make through the first time I sent one in. Probably something to do with me living in Canada and calling long distance. I have no idea. We'll see if this one even makes it through. We tried Council for about, I want to say, an hour and a half on Monday, so yesterday. Still a bit off, probably like 5% damage. We didn't have our normal roster of DPS. We're missing one or two pretty good DPS, so maybe next week, who knows, we'll see. Other than that, everything's been going pretty smooth. Struggled on Vezak's for a while yesterday for some reason. Normally we've been doing pretty well on that hard mode. But yeah, I think it took us like 5 tries last night. Have a good podcast. Thanks.
All right. So yeah. Okay, so the first thing on Hodier, if it makes you feel any better, I got the neck last night, so every time I wear it, I will think of you. I'm pretty sure that's where I got it. The two.
That was Vezak's.
Okay, okay. So I didn't get the. He probably wants something that's got strength on it, I'm guessing. But
looks like it's in a
Frigid something. Yeah, but it's a strength hit neck.
okay, well, either way, now that I just screwed that up, I will still think of you every time I look at that piece and in awe, and I'll just think of you. But yeah, for Hodir, we have to we have our feral switch to Boomy. We have our resto druid switch to Boomy. Like we do a lot of little switches like that too, just to make it easier. But yeah, it's like some of it's luck and some of it's the people knowing how to stack the buffs right. But yeah, like I think we found with the melee is it's just luck if you get them in the beam. But like if you get a melee beam, I guess the tank could move it around, but we haven't done that. But maybe that will be something in the Ulduar tips and tricks coming up later in the episode. So stay tuned for that.
One thing is that casters just scale better off of the Hodir buffs.
Mm-hmm.
We did the same thing of just swapping to ranged alts for Hodir and Thorim, just to make stuff easier the first couple progression weeks. Now that we've gotten more and more comfortable with getting Hodir and Thorim down, we've actually now started to not change our comp at all. But this, again, we're not progressing on Hodir anymore.
Our first kill of Thorim, which was like I think week 2, we had 3 melee groups, so we had the like whole KT square thing going on, and man, you have to be like perfectly range distance. Like, oh man, it was rough.
We're still doing that. We have so much melee in our group. They just do so much damage. And just by not bringing them.
We've sometimes put like a DPS in with the tanks, but that could be a double-edged sword with the parry haste. So yeah, it can kind of help, but it works great on 10-man because like he just doesn't hit as hard.
Well, and there's a lot. It's a lot less likely that you'll need to deviate from a 2 or maximum of 2 DPS in each melee group on 10-man. Mm-hmm. For like an ideal strategy where you're not going to get anyone gibbed, you can have a maximum of like 6 melee DPS, and that goes for both 10 and 25. So obviously it's a lot more dangerous to do that on 25. And for I want to say for our first Thorim kill or 2 or maybe 3, we did drop to 6 melee DPS by just logging on a bunch of ults.
Yeah, so I don't know. There'll probably be some tips and tricks for council on for you when we get to that part. So thank you for your voicemail. A reminder: 816-866-1066 or speakpipe.com/Warcraft Reloaded. All right.
I guess I'll just kind of repeat it again, just because it worked for us so well. Just if you have to play your mage for the next couple weeks, several weeks, just to give your guild an easier time of killing Hodir, then go for it. You can always get the stuff you're after on your warrior later.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and
I'm going to be running Ulduar for quite a while.
And doing things that make the leadership's life easier usually translates into you getting gear faster. Just telling it like it is. If you make life easier and you're willing to give up what you want the most for the good of the group, most of the time, from what I've seen, that translates into you getting something too. It's not guaranteed, but when they're doing their votes, they're gonna be like, well, they did this for us, they did this for us. That's just human nature. Like, you make your boss's life easier, they're probably going to make your life easier in the long run. So there's that too. Oh, all right. Well, guys, what have you been up to in classic World of Warcraft?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, I have been doing way too much Ulduar, and also I'm trying to cap too many characters in PvP. So last week I think I ran 6 Ulduars.
Damn.
Yeah, and
like 310s and 325s type of deal.
No, it was actually 4 10s and then a pair of 25s.
Man.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can drop that down a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I'm running about anywhere from 6 to 8 Ulduars a week. Like last night, I literally raided last night. I did the guild raid, full cleared. Took about 3.5 hours, and then literally logged out, swapped tunes, logged in, and was in a GDKP within like 5 minutes and pulling Flame Leviathan. And then went for another 4 hours. So Ulduar is very time consuming, and pretty much all. I mean, that's pretty much all I'm doing. I'm not doing any of the PvP. I do during the day. I'll do all my fishing and cooking dailies on 10 tunes and not get any fishing gems. So that's always great. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Just Ulduar and a couple dailies and Dalaran, really.
Yeah, it's got to be rough when like you with 10 tunes you get on and the fishing daily is the bloodfish, over there. You're like, crap.
That one's not too bad. It's the Wintergrass one that I don't like because I can only fish there for 2.5 hours and then Wintergrass starts. And I could just join Wintergrass battle probably and go fish, but I got 2.5 hour window. I got to catch 10 of them. My tunes aren't max fishing, so it takes a little bit longer. And then the one in Borean Tundra, I could just wormhole to that. So all my tunes are engineering. That one's pretty easy.
Yeah, if all of them are engineering, I just hate to like use that. So I usually use it for like raid to send everybody from Bolt of Archivon over.
Yeah, I just make other people summon me.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm not crazy like you guys. I've only run 4 Ulduars a week. I've been doing that 2 10s, 2 25s. But I did. Simonize inspired me to make another alt. And I finally understand why people make alts of the same class. Like, I've been learning the ins and outs of prop warrior and rogue. And to really know it all, I mean, I don't know that anybody will ever know it all, but I mean, to be really good, it takes a lot of time, a lot of research. And so, like, I'm just like, I'm going to make another rogue. Gives me more practice, like actual boss practice. And I'm already pretty good at it. This will just make me better. And then I don't have to like learn the super intricacies of other classes. So I made a rogue. Been working him up. So I will soon be doing 6 Ulduars a week, but I'll be doing him during the daytime. So it'll give me something to do during the day instead of putzing around doing achievements and crap.
I like having all the different classes. That way I can learn what everybody's role is for every fight and get like when I'm tanking for my guild, right? I want to know like, hey, what's the mage? Where would the mage want me to position this boss to maximize his damage, or where does the melee want to be stacking, or how can I position the boss so the melee don't have to think because you already know that they're not thinking in the first place. So where can I position the boss so they don't have to do any or do less mechanics, I guess?
I guess it just depends on what you want. I want a tune I can talk to chat, while doing really well in a GDKP during the day. rather than trying to learn something new, you know, like that's kind of where I'm at. Plus, I don't enjoy a lot of the different play styles. I've found out I just don't enjoy caster DPS at all. Like I just don't like it. And so like I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to do a DK because I don't know, they just feel clunky, and like I just don't want to do a DK. Like that's about where it is. I've never really liked the concept of the class. I know a lot of people love it, but you know, it's different strokes for different folks. And I just love rogue, and yeah, I just want to do more rogue stuff. And so that's basically where I'm at with that. But I do get wanting to have one of every class. It definitely makes you a better player. I don't mind leveling other classes, but what I'm really trying to like be, you know, I want to be able to get into GDKPs easy, and, you know, being good at the class right off the bat can just help with that a ton, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you can link logs or whatever, and it's just like, hey, look, like, I know this class. Let me in.
Yep.
I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind.
But yeah, that's all I've been doing. And I've been leveling today in Ulduar Valley, and everybody told me how fast that was. I couldn't believe it. It's like doing 10 quests every 15 minutes. It's just nutty. Like, nutty how fast it is during Ulduar Valley weekend. And everybody, usually on both sides, are on the same page. Although I did have a couple games today where Horde tried to like fight us, and all they ended up doing was, instead of the game ending and both sides having, you know, done all the towers and one side wins, instead what happened was we got all the towers. They didn't get the 2 last towers, and we won anyway. So L2P Horde. L2P. It's so nice being like on the good faction now. As far as BGs go, I haven't played a ton in Wrath, but like everything that I've played, we just wiped the floor with Horde, and all classic vanilla, it was the opposite, and we just always got our asses handed to us. And like now we just serve it up to them, and it feels good. And it's funny because this was how it was also back in the day in real Wrath, and I was Horde, and we just got whomped like all the time. So I'm just like, it's good to be on the good side now.
Yeah. I wonder, you know, because I'm just constantly on Reddit, on the WoW Classic Reddit, and all I see is the, hey, this is what BG, I don't BG at all, but this is what BGs are, and it's just nothing but like DK bots. Did you experience that a lot?
No, that's more of a, I think that's just people trying to like get clicks for content. Yeah. You definitely run into it. But Mel's brother was trying to level in Arathi Basin, and he wasn't running into bots much at all. He was running into people just destroying him. But it does happen quite a bit, though, still. Like, I don't want to like lie. It does happen quite a bit leveling in Ulduar Valley. But like the actual level 80 ones, you don't see a ton of bots, man. Like they get voted out pretty quick, but nobody votes in the, you know, 70 to 79 Ulduar Valley because everybody's just there to level. So you don't care if there's a bot there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But yeah, but like
I know
I farmed.
I actually leveled some of my tunes doing that as well. Like early. That was my first priority, was just get everything max level. And AV weekend, I definitely took advantage of it as well. Then everybody kind of got on board with it, and I was just like, yeah, that's so 5 weeks ago.
Well, and like everybody, so recently, like I had to get a whole bunch of ore. So I was out mining, and I had heard all the crap too. Everybody's like, bots are out of control. I think it's all Solheim does is videos on bots. Like, I'm like, damn it, Solheim, stop it. It's like, just every other video is a bot video. And I like his stuff when it's not about bots. Like, so I'm just like trying to root for him, but yeah, he's just always doing the bot stuff. And I'm out there and I'm like, I don't see any bots. Like, unless these bots are tanks in like full phase 1 or 2 bis, like I'm seeing all these people that are super geared, and a bot wouldn't be super geared. Now in dungeons, there's bots everywhere. Like that's just true. But like people say in the open world, it's nothing but bots, and I'm like, dude, have you been in the open world recently? Like, I was like, I just feel like they're kind of talking out of their ass and just kind of making stuff up because that's what they've heard, and it's become a rumor that just becomes truth. But dungeons, definitely, you could just do a /who and just see, like, if it's all level 58 DKs, you know, you're pretty much like, well, okay, it's a bot. Yeah. It's like, but, you know, there's a lot of stuff that gets, especially on Reddit, that just is like straight up, they're just making shit up. Farm. Yep. Boonja in chat says if you do the 60 to 69 bracket, it's really bad there. I wonder if it's bad because like it could be bad any place while leveling up because people often might not report them, you know. But I feel like it's just too dangerous to bot in BGs because of the reports. So like, yeah, I've seen footage, but I haven't seen it myself, or, you know, like it seems like they've, you know, the different people that put this up probably were doing a ton, ran into 1 out of 10 that had like a whole bunch of bots, and they're like, look at this, you know. So yeah, but who knows? Maybe I've just got lucky and haven't seen. So it could be that too. I don't know, Corpse, do you ever go the open world, or you just a straight up Dalaran guy?
Nope. Dalaran guy. I've done one BG in the past 2 months, maybe. Granted, there were like 4 DK bots on the enemy team.
Were you leveling, or was it level 80?
Level 80.
Interesting.
I forget how I got suckered into it. Oh, I needed I think my friend needed like 50 conquest points or whatever to get a piece. So he's like, oh, okay, just do 2 battleground dailies. So I did one of them with him, and yeah, this was my first battleground in a while. And so when the DKs res, it's like one of them death grips you and icy touches, and then the next one death grips you over there and icy touches you, and the third and the fourth. So you get like 4 death grips on you in 5 seconds. And
now you're saying bots, but that just sounds like DK play to me.
Yeah, I mean
they kind of are bots, right? Yeah. I'm just kidding. DKs are awesome. I want you in my own raid, so I just don't want to play one of you. That's all. Yeah. I don't know. It's just something where people seem to blow it out of proportion, but like I could definitely see them jumping up now. But I mean, for months while the servers were locked, like we didn't have bots. Like these guys had to have been going on servers that weren't Faerlina, weren't Benediction, weren't White Mane. Like the ones that were locked, like after they locked them, did the ban wave. Like I mean, you just didn't see bots hardly at all. So. And now, like, you could make a DK if you hadn't made a DK someplace else, but you can't move anything over. So if you're making it on Benediction, like, you'd have to start level 1 at the moment. So, yeah, I just don't know. All right, well, have you guys been doing anything else? I can't think of anything else I've been doing.
I did make enough consumes for all my tunes. Like the rest of the expansion, probably spent, I don't know, like 10 to 15,000 gold on that. Just all sitting in guild banks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I don't do that. Like, I usually don't even sit on any product. Like, I sell things, eat, immediately. I buy the things that I need to enchant and everything, like when I need it. Like for the most part, that saves me a lot of times, because like I would have hated to have been someone sitting on 50 to 100 scarlet rubies and have them drop from 150 per to 50 per overnight. Like that would suck. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all consumes that I just like don't plan on ever selling. They're just gonna sit in a bank, and when I need it, I'll take it out. I mean, I don't want to go down this road of this discussion, but I don't really plan on playing Kata, so it's like whatever. If I have too much at the end, then oh well.
I'm still up in the air on that. We're just gonna have to see. We'll see.
I mean, never say never, I guess, but
yeah, I can almost guarantee if I do play Kata, I won't be playing it as much as I play Wrath right now. But I've been working up. So on my new tune, I was lazy. Don't want to do engineering again. Don't want to do jewel crafting again. So I was like, you know what? I'll just go tailor and enchanting. It was just like,
I was wondering why you were messaging me asking about the tailor stuff.
Yeah, I was just like, that's super easy to, like half the stuff you need for enchanting you get while working up tailoring. I was like, I'm just going to do that. And enchanting's pretty nice, honestly. Like if you're getting gear and then upgrading that piece just the very next week and stuff, like to disenchant those works out pretty good. And the enchanting mats, those shards, I don't think they'll go down in price much the rest of the time. Yeah, because people get gear so fast. There's so many alts. Like I don't see that price actually dropping, and so few people wanting to go enchanting. Like everybody thought the price would plummet when we got the new Titan Rune Heroic Plus dungeons, and I was like, I don't think so, dude. When was the last time you saw an enchanter in your group? Like, it's pretty rare. So just being able to like disenchant stuff will be just a little bit extra money injectors, and
Plus, you said you wanted GDKP on that rogue.
Yep.
And every GDKP needs at least one enchanter.
Yep. That's also the same. I thought, like, if I could be more helpful in that way, if someone remembers me, I'd be like, oh, just bring him. He's an enchanter. It might just get you in because they remember you're an enchanter type of stuff. And I log too. I live log. So lots of raid leaders have liked that, so just try to be as helpful as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something really fun about just starting at 0 and just working up professions in Ironforge. Like there's something very therapeutic about it. You're just like, oh, working up so fast. Do you do professions on all of your alts, Corpse?
Oh yeah.
Well, I know you do.
Me, no.
Nope. You like Scotty J would say, can't be bothered, mate.
Well, if you remember back in Vanilla Classic, I had my Legion of Alchemy and other transmute alts.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't keep up with it in TBC or Wrath.
I did pretty good at TBC. I had like 3 different tailors that made the cloth.
Oh, I'm super bad at the daily stuff. I pretty much. I would always tell myself, like, yeah, I'm going to have all these transmute procs. Yeah. I'm going to use them. Never freaking use them. Now, I just, Wormhole's really nice. I like rocket boots. So I was like, all right, I'll just have them. And it's arguably the best profession. So swapped them all to engineering. And then I got like a potion master, so I can make my own potions, elixir master, flasks and elixirs, and then I got some enchanters for GKPs, and and enchanting all my own stuff because arcane or the vellums are out now, so that's nice.
That is really nice.
Well, I will tell you though, with these fishing dailies, I wish I would have kept up with fishing expansion to expansion, because fishing sucks. It takes so long to level.
Well, I don't know if you remember leveling it now. Yeah, leveling it now is a cakewalk compared. Like now, your fish casts are half of the time they used to be. You
don't have to go to a specific zone.
Yeah, you can level it pretty much anywhere. Like it was. I remember doing it in hardcore and just being like, "This is crazy," but I got to do it. Like it's just like a lot, and then you have to go to specific spots. Everything. Ugh. But yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, I was gonna say the jewel crafting daily though. I mean, it's just easy money every day. Like you get like 40 gold for it, and then on top of that, the little shards you get one a day if you want to spend your mark on it is like, I think it's still going for 60 or 70 gold each on Benediction. And if you're smart, when you get one of the dailies, you take 5 or 6 of the 2 gems that you need to make the item. You go out, farm the item, make it, farm another one, make another one, farm another one, make another one, come back with 6, put 5 in your bank, turn in 1. Then that one's done for the next 5 times it pops up. It literally takes 45 seconds to do that daily every week. So, or every day. So, yeah. And then when you run out, you're like, oh, crap, I actually have to go do it today. But I mean, super, super easy.
Yeah, I do that for 3 tunes. And my main before my paladin was warlock, and it's jewel crafting. And I actually just now I'm starting to run out of stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't want to go kill mobs.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I have been doing some of the TOC dailies, and I've still been trying to do, I've got my green Drake, so I haven't been really messing with those dailies over there, but I don't have the bear mount from the one daily you get up there in Storm Peaks, right there. Forget what it's called, the place, but where you turn into the girl giant thing. So oftentimes I'll be like, oh, I have to go out. I guess I'll do that then, you know? All right. Well, I think that's enough of what we've been doing. Basically, it boils down to, we're going to be talking about Ulduar. That's basically what we've been doing the majority of the time. So let's move into...
Gather around the fire, everyone. I have a story to tell.
Welcome to this week's Varg Raid Progression Hardmodes. And joining us is Mel, because she was not on the show, but she's here. So welcome, Mel.
Yeah, I am here.
Well, welcome. Thank you for being here.
True.
And we're here with Yip, a.k.a. The Yip Show. How you doing?
Good. I got dragged on to explain our regression rating. I'm here to apologize to everybody for the update.
Well, before go ahead.
No, sir. Before we go in,
before we
take
get
it away.
started, I got a little bit of a bone to pick with you, Yip, because I got a call from an angry ex-politician, billionaire, crazy person, whatever you want to call him. But I got a call from him, and yeah, let's just go ahead and play the clip.
Hi, Blazing Bob. Your special friend Yip reached out to me. Oh, what a special guy he is. He said, Donald, Bob is raking in the channel points. He said, he's getting hundreds of channel points for a single voice clip. I said, no way, not on my watch. Yip's voice clip is worth at least thousands of channel points. I would have never let this trade deal happen.
So Donald was not happy with that, and I wasn't going to tell him, but you had to tell him.
Sorry, I couldn't keep it to myself once I found out. Once I found out what was happening here.
Well, okay, remember, I did ask your permission to use that on the channel for channel points.
That might be the case. I just didn't remember. It happened the second I opened your stream. The second I opened your stream, someone redeemed me, and I was like, oh my God.
Wait a minute.
It happens quite a bit. Then there'll sometimes be some wars because I made a For the Horde one, so the Horde, the Alliance will go back and forth with each other, and then the new popular one is Michael from The Office. God no, please, God no.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's 2,000 channel points, guys, and I'm 500.
Well, it's because yours is not as annoying as that one is, and not as long.
Fair.
Oh man! All right, well, let's get into it. Where do we want to start?
Well, I'll start with the honest truth, and that's I didn't expect to kill any new bosses this week. So the only bosses we have left are Hardmode, Mimiron, and Algalon. And we just have done almost no 25-man attempts on Mimiron, and
literally almost none.
we've only had like maybe 14, maybe 13 people kill 10-man Mimiron. I think he had only died like twice in 2 groups.
Yeah.
And it was the same Wednesday group, so it's mostly the same people. That's the one that everybody signs up for, so it's nothing I can do. But yeah, so we hadn't seen it a ton, and we didn't have like a sound strategy. And the last time we had done a couple of attempts on 25-man, it was like an absolute nightmare. So I wasn't like, hey, this week we're definitely gonna get Mimiron down, because we also had to kill Iron Council and Hodir again. We'd only killed them once, so we kind of had to, just like solidifying those kills was good enough for me.
Also, according to Fab's fake news, it was the 3rd week we were killing Council. We're like, no, Fab, we killed him for the first time last week. Like, no, we killed Hodir for the first time last week. We were like, yeah, both of them.
It is true. So, wait. What?
Fab thought that this week was going to be our 3rd kill on Council, and not our 2nd.
That's wrong, right?
Yep,
that is
wrong. It's Fab fake
checking.
news.
Sorry, you're overwriting my actual memories, because I was like, wait, is that true? Yeah, no, but we had a really long prog night our first week for Iron Council, and then when we came in on Thursday, we killed it in like 2 pulls. We killed it basically in 1 pull, except we just didn't have an aimed shot, so we healed 40% instead of 20%. Bob put on wounding, and then we killed it immediately. So we were like, oh, this is so easy now. Not the case this time, although I felt fine. I felt like way more in control of the fight than normal. Like, I felt like moving for runes, fusion punches, everything was going fine.
Yep.
It's just either there was like a mix of problems that would happen. So either someone would die going into the 3rd phase and like things just got messy, or he'd heal like right away from like that kill and things got kind of crazy.
Or we'd have to wait a whole other rune, or we try to push it early and then we wouldn't have the rune, and it.
Yeah, so we at first were waiting for an extra rune to come out, and we were having to wait like the entire time, like the entire duration. He'd be at like 15%, and we'd be like, let's wait for one more rune, and we're just sitting there trying not to kill him.
Right.
And then a couple of times between the time that we killed him and the time that the Rune of Power came out, a death rune came out right on top of the Rune of Power everybody was in and killed people. So I was like, well, I have impeccable memory. I remember every pull of every boss we ever do. And I know for a fact that on that second Rune of Power that comes out after we kill the first little guy, that a death rune never spawns on it. It's never happened before. So I was like, hey, well, why don't we rush and kill him at that rune? And even if it's in a couple extra seconds, it'll be like at least more like safe. People won't die in that wait time. And then we'll like know where we stand. Well, we did like 3 or 4 pulls of that, and we got a death rune every time. I think that we tried that strategy,
just in spite of Yip, I think.
Like, there could honestly, like, maybe this is obvious, and maybe there's just a mechanic I should know. Like, he does a death rune at a certain percentage of health more often, but it seemed like the boss was just messing with us all night. As soon as everything went right, like one thing would go wrong. I think like once everything was clean and I think I just got like comboed out by a fusion punch or something somehow on that first one. So I didn't get the actual meltdown. Like there was just always something that made us have to redo it. So we did spend quite a lot of time on Iron Council that Tuesday night. And I was getting a little worried, but again, I feel like all of our attempts were cleaner. Like everyone knew what they were doing more. It just still felt crazy with the death runes coming out, and we were really tight on that DPS check. Like I'm pretty sure we got like decent rune timing once or twice, and then still just like didn't make the DPS check with just 2. Tanks. So that was the other thing that went wrong, is like I would die coming up when I was coming in for the 3rd tank and all that. But we ended up again.
Well, we tried to do it without the 3rd tank quite a few times, and there were times where maybe we could have done it with the 3rd tank. Like it was hard to tell.
Yeah, like if the 3rd tank was there, we probably would have been able to kill it. So like we went back to potentially trying the 3rd tank.
So we did raid. Well, for people listening, you're going to find out here shortly on the raid tips for Ulduar, and like both Free and Corpse agreed with you that like the 3rd tank is extremely hard to pull off. Like you basically just have to roll every CD on that 3rd tank. Yeah, and like it's just like it makes it infinitely harder. Now, of course, you're not going to kill him with that if you don't make that first 2 tank deep DPS check. You kind of have to have the 3rd tank, but they were like, you just kind of want to hit that DPS check is basically what they were saying.
It's infinitely easier not having to res someone and buff them and get them back in there. And the biggest problem is that it's not just, if we have that 3rd tank just for a little while, we'll be okay, because he gains 20% health when that 2nd tank dies. So like the 3rd tank has to tank for like almost the entire length of the meltdown again,
and he's stronger.
Yeah, and he's even stronger. So to me, it just felt like we could do it that way, but like it seems crazy. But we missed the DPS check like twice or something, so it felt like okay, we're maybe gonna have to do that 3rd tank. But we were able to cinch it again. Using just the 2. And we made it by like a lot. We made it by like I don't know how many seconds it was, but it felt very comfortable. Like I was like getting ready to take it from Fabulous, and we just didn't have to do that time. So it was pretty interesting. I was reading some people in the Prot Discord hold him in the rune for the first tank, so like you guarantee the melee have full uptime on the Rune of Power when you're pulling them.
That is one of the tips Free gives coming up.
I was looking at the damage, and like it especially with like Divine Sax rolling, it seems like that is possible to do. And then that would definitely get us over that curve of like maybe we aren't going to eke out quite enough damage to get Iron Council down. Well, great tip coming up, guys. Stay tuned.
There's a lot of good ones, and I'm gonna give the timestamp to everybody, but in the Discord, I'll like stick it there. But we didn't get through all the bosses, but at the end I skipped to Mimiron for reasons, so that we could get tips there. There's a lot of tips for multiple classes and multiple roles, so it'll be really cool. There's a lot of tank tips too. Great,
we're gonna need those. For Hodir, we have Hodir Cinch. Hodir's a joke now. One, we're 3 healing, so we have Jasmine jumping onto Boomkin, which as long as like if you're doing the fight correct, it seems like you can pretty consistently get those like really insane ranged going like 16 plus K DPS. And as long as you have that rolling, like you pretty much will hit the timer. So I guess that now that we're moving like storm clouds back from melee, I think maybe that was like, and then just like everyone being aware and having a role selected to keep the singed buff up after that first flash freeze. I think like making sure those buffs stay up, you pretty much will just do insane damage. And then me not being bad, and like after that first flash freeze, I was like, people were always dying. There was always a spellcaster with way too much threat. So like just being like ready, I was salving as that flash freeze was getting casted, and then just like being ready to taunt immediately and pull it away, because like their threat can go from like 60% all the way to pulling just in that flash freeze time.
Right,
it gets wild.
Dude, it's crazy as a warrior too, because like we didn't do hard mode in 25-man last night, but LZ did something like 40k DPS on Hodir or whatever it was.
I think it was,
or was
like
it 20?
26k.
Yeah, 26.
I think it was like 20.
But I just luckily had my my aggro thing on him. So he just makes my job easy as pie because he's getting so much aggro. And so I just thought that was funny. It's like, who do I need for this fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's some of these fights are a lot of threat, and Hodir is definitely the worst. But you can taunt, so being smart and doing that and making sure no one dies helps. So I think we had to wipe one time on Hodir, and it was one of those ones where we wiped at like 1.9%, and I didn't even call it. Only Harscare called it because I believed in us.
It was like scary. Everyone's like, "Don't do anything. Try to die fast."
Yeah, it was scary because like I think everyone was kind of like 50-50, like we were like right on the timer. So which, by the way, the Thames pack having that timer, that new timer, is so nice. If you saw it, it like basically is just like a little racetrack showing you if you're keeping up with the time or not, which definitely helps. Sure. But yeah, Hodir is easy if you can't kill Hodir. But yeah, I mean, it definitely helped. I don't know if pulling it to the right is a major contributor in that, but every pull we've done pulling it to the right has been a great pull. So I'm not sure if that like somehow makes the like lights just better and the storm clouds better, cleaner or something. But they've all gone.
We're going with.
Yeah. Maybe it's a good luck charm. Maybe it's a strategy. Nobody knows.
Either way.
And then finally we get to Mimiron. The fight that, honestly, like, I just don't think it's that fun. I don't like frogging it. I feel bad, but like I simply do not like frogging on
It's just chaos.
It's chaos, and it honestly, most of the time that I'm progging it on 10-man at least, I don't have a battle res, which is very frustrating because someone can die so easily, and then you're like, should we wipe?
Yeah,
like,
might as well just wipe,
yeah,
especially if it's arranged.
Like, yeah.
So the only major change that we had, well, I guess there were two major changes. One, we stopped being baddies and have like a pretty strict divine sack and aura mastery rotation to make sure that like we just always have something coming out, and I think that worked pretty well. We're still losing people in phase 2, but I think that it worked better than what we were doing before, which was just sort of like calling it in.
Usually after we lost somebody, and
yeah, I mean we do it usually, like Stoop will do it early and then we like wait for Harscare to call it, but instead just like making sure they go one after the other with no breaks is nice, and then it clears the comms for like anything else that really needs to happen. You just say like, okay, next. So that was nice, but the big change is how we were doing phase 1, which I will admit I hated at the beginning and didn't see any major improvement. I did not see any reason to do it the way that we were executing it, and we were like dying a lot in phase 1. So basically we were pulling Flame Leviathan out to the perimeter of the room to make sure all the fires went there, and then just like pulling them on that perimeter and just having one person like sit back and keep them behind us. And
which, by the way, on a tiny laptop in a hotel room, trying to follow the tank, dodge the bombs, and get out of the fire was quite the experience.
I mean, that's a serious saving grace in that that was you, and then our paladin was like disconnecting and having like 2,000 to 3,000 MS all night, our holy paladin. Yeah. So that's like nice. So next time we go in there, we have a lot more working for us,
right?
And then we did this last week. But
I've never felt like my screen was so small, right? Like it's a fairly large laptop screen, but you know when you're used to like your bigger screen, right? And like I was like sitting there like this, like cooking, and I was like, oh my god, there's a little bomb there. Oh my gosh, it was so bad.
So it's interesting because Free takes it just the same way. Like starts the fight the same way that we were doing it, right? Corpse starts the fight and stays in the middle until the first time we have to move. Then he moves over to where you actually moved to in the other strat, but it gives him time to like get everything. And then he says the fires basically go out at that point. So like
that's what I said.
I know. I thought of that when he was saying that.
But yeah, I mean, we were also doing that the first time we were progging, like not the first couple pulls, but we started after the first shock blast, just staying away because the fire comes down in melee usually, which is like unfortunate. But yeah, he does flame suppress in phase 1, so that fire being in melee isn't as drastic as like fire being in melee after the flame suppressant, and then it's just going to be there for phase 2. So I think either way you pull is probably fine. The problem that I was having is we were losing people to group napalm strikes over and over again. So it felt like hardcore regression rating because like we were able to get to phase 2 usually. But now we're like we are gaining some control over fires, but we like weren't making it to phase 2, so it felt kind of bad. But then like in our last couple, I feel like we were definitely clicking way more though. Like we were definitely doing a much better job of staying spread when we were allowed to be spread, and then like packing more in for the fire. The fire was getting like really, really under control, I thought, and then we were just losing people in phase 2 still sometimes.
Yeah.
And even still, like we might lose like 1 or 2 people to napalm in that first phase. So
it's
found
crazy.
If I stood on the melee during phase 1, it was much easier because I didn't have to dodge the bombs as much as I was walking. But yeah, I don't know how that helped with napalm and stuff.
What's scary is I'm being told to pull at the same time Plasma Blast is coming out. So like it's spooky because all the healers are moving and you're moving and he's doing like insane damage to you.
Well, good luck, Yip.
Yeah, what's crazy to me, and it, you know, like throughout playing like Wrath, I've been like, man, I'm just not as good as I used to be. And I'm starting to get why. I used to like, so anytime we do these progs that we have to do the start of the fight a ton, my openers start getting really good, right? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, that makes sense why I was so much better back then. I had literally hundreds of practice times, you know, like, whereas if you're progging it like, you know, 10, 15 attempts, like you don't get like that type of, you know, practice. Like that's another reason why I want to make another rogue, is for even more practice. But yeah, it's just interesting because as we started doing that, I'm starting to just blow up like as we do it over and over. And I was like, this is kind of cool, you know? So that part was kind of cool for me, but God, I can't, tanking prog sounds just like pull your hair out.
It hurts. It can hurt. Especially when you can do something wrong, it's very draining. Like not because like I always call for cooldowns. So like if I didn't call for pain suppression because I was like pulling, because like sometimes like we were in a weird position because we had to move for fire because we were still learning like how close the fire person can be, and then I'm pulling at the same time I should be saying like pain suppression, and then you just die so quickly from that plasma blast. It's like nuts.
And there was times where I wasn't close enough either, and I was like pain suppression. Oh my god.
I've started to do those types of calls too, and it's horrible. I'm getting better to where I don't like stress out the person doing it, because like when I first started, I'm like, whatever, EXT, whatever you have right now. You know, like instead of just being like, okay, I need pain suppression now. Like I'm just stressing out the other person. And they're like, what do you want, Bob? What do you want? Like,
it's just one of those things that like clear communication improves gameplay so much with those sort of things, but it's so like hard to do. Or like if something else you're focusing on something else, it's like, oh.
Yep. And that first plasma blast comes so fast. Like,
it's like right
you're
away.
like you like don't even have all your debuffs up on the boss and everything yet. You're like, oh crap.
Yeah, it's definitely wild. But we did make progress.
We did. I think if we hadn't got stuck on Iron Council for an hour and a half, we would have had enough time.
Sorry, I actually mean in the literal sense, because I killed Mim Hardmode 10-man for the first time.
Oh, nice. Congrats. I forgot about that. You did.
With only...
And now Bob's the only one to not kill Mim Hardmode, right? Is that what we're getting here? Oh, just saying.
Really? I thought you were in one of the Wednesdays. That's the only reason I was so... I thought I was catching up. I didn't realize I was...
No, I've been the only one that has killed it.
That must have been really tough for you, Bob.
Yep. Yeah, well, luckily, I do have a lot of tips that are going to help me not feel like a wet noodle during phase 3. Because anytime I've done 10-man attempts, I'm like, what am I doing here? And turns out just assault bot kill. Like,
yeah, the quicker you kill assault bots, the better, because that's the only real other than the bomb bots, nothing else is gonna like one shot people in that phase either. Like someone can be on like the wrong side of the map, but as long as they're not taking active damage, they can like live and try to find a way back.
Right.
Like those assault bots go crazy in this one shot. Like it's so insane.
I always feel bad because I have fade, so I just fade them off of me, and then I go see them like attack the person next to me, and I'm like, sorry.
But yeah, I do want to say, so it was actually very easy on 10-man, and I do think that the way that we were pulling in phase 1 is a big reason why.
Awesome.
In 10-man, it definitely became more apparent because, one, we only had 2 healers. None of them were a disc priest. One was Stormex, who is not even like a healer. And we were able to 2 heal it.
You did it with 2 heal?
Did it with 2 healers.
Yeah, because we did 3.
Yeah. So I think that the flame management made a really, really big deal going into phase 2. And we ended up, it wasn't easy. And we wiped a lot. It was like our last pull that went well. But we were able to like maybe just lose a couple of people in phase 2, and then phase 3 if we had a battle res, again, no battle res, if we had a battle res, we probably would have been in a lot better shape. But the fact that losing one person at any time meant like they're gone for good. But what was interesting is we went into phase 3 with 10 people up. A blunder somebody made, perhaps it was me, perhaps not, but a bomb bot did hit 2 people, Kabosh and Lexers. So we lost one of our only 2 ranged DPS.
Lovely.
So we only have 2 ranged DPS in our group, and one of them's dead, and we still got the kill with that, having only awesome. 8 people in phase 3. So in my heart, I'm like, honestly, if we get phase 2 consistently down, we probably will get a 25-man kill like very shortly after that, because it really does seem like management on phase 3 and phase 4 is a lot easier. You're allowed to kind of be wherever you want to be. You can like run around as long as you're not getting hit by fire. You can like run in wackier places and you're not getting like obliterated. So it definitely makes me hopeful that that Mim will go. I think we'll at least see a lot more progress coming next week for 25 man.
Well, now that you mentioned that, I kind of do also want to mention, just for me, like I've been doing the Monday night 10-man, and I've been the tank, and I've been the raid lead. And I'm learning more, but there's a lot of things that, like, you know, I have killed a handful of hard modes. You know, I did the best the week that we didn't have a paladin, but I had Fab, Casimo, and Jasmine, which is a good knowledge base. I still led, but like I was able to shoot things off of them, get answers for things I don't know.
Advisors.
Yeah, and like that, you know, I'm able to do it. So I've been kind of down about that, but today Harskar came in with one of his alts and led our 10-man. I identified a few problems that I would have never caught, and my warrior has now killed every hard mode on 10-man except for Mimiron, Yogg 0, and Algalon. So I feel pretty good about that. I'm feeling really good because I was like, is it me? Like, do I suck? Does warrior really suck like they say it does?
It's tough to not have like a super strong raid leader, and we don't have like a ton. It's really just Harskar. It's like
we have a lot of knowledge,
but Harskar really brings it together out of like, I don't know, like desire to not have a bad time. He's like, fine. I
will know everything.
I will get us through this. But it really is like night and day having like someone there. I feel bad because like I can raid lead, but I've had Harskar in my 10-man the last like 2 weeks, and it's so much different to just be like, I'm just
you got this,
holding and relaxing.
And like I've been pretty good at like the leading part, but I've like just the knowledge part is where I can fail because I'm fine making the call as long as I feel confident I've been given the right information, or if I do know the right, I do know a lot of things. I just don't know a lot of other things. And so that's the part that I struggle on. And so, yeah, so that was really cool. Another really cool thing that happened this week. So our Wednesday group, which is usually the group that's awesome. People were kind of down during it. I think like they felt like we didn't have a strong group. You know, we had strong players, but they felt like the comp wasn't good, and there's just not a ton of people signing up for 10-mans now, and so it's really tough for leadership and Yip to like make teams that work. And everybody was just kind of down. I was trying to get them up the whole night, you know, but then just everybody's just kind of down. I mean, we got hard modes down. Like it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like bad, but I think people were thinking, oh, Algalon's just going to be shit this week. Great. No one said that, but that's just that was what I was getting. And so I was telling my friend Sarth about this, and he offered to come coach us in 10-man Algalon. And so I left it a surprise, and I think it seemed like it really brightened up people's day, and like we learned a lot from it, and we got to see a lot more of the different mechanics and got to point out specific things people could fix, and it was pretty cool.
It seemed really good for you too, for like the like Big Bang stuff, to have someone just like watching you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That helps a lot.
What is happening?
But I still think having a priest is just so much nicer. Like I did that weird spec, and it definitely works. But something Harskar pointed out is every time people came out of the Big Bang, I should have just vanished. Like I have prep, like I could have used it twice. Like I should have just done that. And I was like, oh, that's a good call. And towards the end, Sarth did call that. He's like, Bob, if you can vanish, do it now. And I did but like that's a huge thing, but it's a weird spec to play, and you do quite a bit less damage. Although I definitely wasn't playing it optimal. With more practice, maybe I could get better at it, but
the hour makes it really tough too, because you're kind of like settled on the strategy you're bringing.
Mhm.
So like whether you're like 1 or 2 tanking, if you're 3 healing or 2 healing, it feels bad to like change it up after a couple pulls don't go well, because you're like, well, what if those don't go well and we're just wasting time? Like, what changes can I make? That's like the toughest part of Algalon, is you can't just like do some pulls, be like, let's take a 5-minute break, look at some logs, and come back to it or something.
You don't discuss a lot. You pull really fast, sometimes pull without a certain buff, like all kinds of stuff.
Well, and we consistently don't have the same 10 people doing it either. So there's always like a little bit of a variation there. I think one thing we did have a consensus on at the end was you either do like 2 tanks and 2 healers, or 1 tank and 3 healers, right? Like doing 2 tanks and 3 healers, I think just doesn't give enough DPS for us to get the phases down.
That's probably almost definitely the case. We found we might need to like look into the differences to make it better. Riley and I had a really good thing going on with the 1 tank taunting. So I think figuring out like what cooldowns to use when, it's just tough when you have, again, different people going on different days, that it's like tough to get all that coordinated and like making sure everyone's on the same page and like trying to figure out or like troubleshoot live in that 1 hour you have.
Well, it's a bummer that you were there for the very start of it, and Harskar wasn't able to make it, but you guys could have pointed out to us. Harskar went back and watched it the next day and pointed out that that DKK should have been taunting earlier instead of right before the big bang or whatever. Like, because the way Riley did it is you did one of the ones earlier rather than when all the weird stuff was going around.
We talked about that at the beginning. That wasn't going to fix the cosmic smash issue, though, that you guys were running into. DKK kept dying to like a cosmic smash combo. He would still take that same taunt. All it does is prevent him having to taunt out of Big Bang. So
that's what Huskar was saying. Okay.
Yeah. So that definitely, I think that there is a reason. I think there is a way to make that like easier, but I think you have to get to the point where like there was one where Riley taunted 3 times off me and he like never went below half. Like figuring out how to execute that every time. Maybe it's 3 healers and maybe it's or like using timing your cooldowns good for them. Who knows?
Also, just we're talking about practice on different characters. That's like Riley's main in Wrath is a DK, whereas DKK, that's his alt, right? No, that is
his main. But he's not as
he doesn't.
Well, I guess they're not
much.
tank geared. But I don't know. There are no doubt differences, and it could easily be explained with like stamina. Like there's a lot of things to look at to make that work better. But it definitely can work, and I think that extra damage ends up being super worth it. And we were running into the real reason that we're doing it in our group is that we were just running into an issue with Riley tanking it normally, even with 3 healers. So it actually was like it's more of a reason to have like the main tank holding the Algalon boss the longest.
Well, then there's other tips Sarth gave. Like he's like, so I don't see any of the melee or anybody kicking the stars, and I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. Okay, well, that's something else I have to watch for then. Like any little bit to help less damage go out.
Yeah, we definitely don't do that. Last thing though, is because you're right.
Oh, okay.
We're basically like spinning into nothing because we're like requiring a full 10-man before we do Algalon. So the way we're doing it now, I think, is this next week we'll have a sign up that is just Algalon, where you're not getting a full raid, you're not going to go get loot, you're just getting prog on Algalon, and then call it a day. And then that way, like, we have a couple people in our guild who are like strong classes, but they don't need 10 mans anymore, or they're burnt out from 10 mans and they just don't want to do a full one So I think being able to like bring in like a really strong group for Algalon to try to get it down is probably where we should focus, and then have one other raid go full. I think that's probably what we'll do, because this last week we had like 8 people signed up per raid, as far as like once you look at overlap. Like there might be 4 healers signed up, so it's like 12 people are signed up, but not actually 12 people.
Not really.
So like we're definitely getting to like it's getting thin. And we're raiding a lot. That's to be expected, but it's tough when you're trying to prog something that isn't like required progress, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, if I could put in my, if I could slip you like a crisp 100 gold bill, 3 of my bists are on Algalon 10. just throwing that in there.
I got some bists there too. Yeah, I've got no idea what the best group looks like.
I know. You got to do what you got to do. But remember, I can pay assassination or combat, whatever the
We do have a
needs.
sign up though, so if you don't need any other gear from any other bosses, I feel like your chances are high.
Well, I still could use other stuff, but I don't. It's not like I need Algalon more than I need anything.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people now. So hopefully soon, hopefully maybe even next week or maybe 2 weeks. I think next week, hard mode, Mimiron. The week after, 10-man Algalon. And the week after that, you'll hear about how we didn't kill 10-man or 25-man Algalon. And the week after that, we'll kill Algalon. And then the week after that, they'll nerf Algalon. That's my... There's my prediction.
Sounds right.
The Varg Prog prediction.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
If they do nerfs, I hope we get everything down first. I don't really care about Yogg 0. Like, like that's, I just want to be able to get Algalon and Mim down before nerfs come. I'd hate
that would be ideal.
Not have that happen. But I don't know. We're going good. I thought the Mim prog went like absolutely great. Like I really did. And I told it was funny because I told chat you guys couldn't hear, but I was like, guys, if we hadn't got stuck on council, I think we would have had this. And then literally two minutes later, Jack, Harskar said it, and I was like, hey, well, I feel like it was a smart thing I said just a second ago now.
Yeah, it definitely felt like, oh, we have a clear path to kill this boss now, as opposed to like, oh, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. Yep. We're never gonna kill it.
All right. Well, I think that's before we end out, I promised earlier in the show we've had a couple emails and voicemails just talking about how hard it's been to recruit on servers like White Main. It's even big. So we Free and Corpse gave some recommendations, but do you have any recommendations for recruiting? I've just never done it, so it's hard to.
Recruiting on Benediction is awful and horrible, and I hate it. So the best, listen, if you want the real secrets to recruit people, /who, the classes that you need, look for ungilded people, look at their logs, and then recruit them. That's how you'll find like strong GDKP alts or something like that to help fill your guild up as well too.
That was something I said.
People out there. Yeah, like there are people out there who are playing not in a guild who will raid with you if it's like consistent and decent and fun.
I was like, dude, trying to find alts like that have done the fight in their main guild can be some of the best recruits that you could grab.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes life a lot easier. And then, yeah, I mean, if the nice thing is if they are, parsing 60s in GDKPs, then like, okay, well, they'll parse better in our guild probably. So like you can be a little more lenient, but yeah, I mean, the skill gap between what you might be looking for and who might join your guild is far too great to not look at logs. But on somewhere like Benediction, like the standards for guilds are very high as well too. So a 90 parsing DPS is going to want to be in a really strong guild. It's like a lot harder to yeah, it was a lot easier on white main to like pull in a good player into our guild, where here there are so many good guilds that they feel like they can get in somewhere else.
Just to like give people,
but they won't have as much fun.
Well, so to give people an example, like if you're looking at GDKP runs in the logs, you're looking at their logs and they don't run with a guild. Keep in mind that I was on my lock 99 parsing in the current content, but then doing the GDKPs on that same lock on the content before, doing them in GDKPs. I was still doing the most, often the most damage in the raid, but I was like 82 parsing. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at those logs, like looking somewhere in the 75 to 85 range. And that's probably a pretty damn good, player.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a totally different environment when you're with pugs and randoms, or there's buyers in the run. It is definitely different. So, but yeah, I found recruiting to be very difficult on mega servers, though. There's just a lot of guilds recruiting, and when you need if we needed to recruit for a specific debuff or something, it'd be good. But in our main raid, we needed warlocks. It's really hard to get. It's really hard to get a 90 parse warlock into your guild,
right?
Who is just randomly guildless.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when I did, he disappeared a couple weeks later.
I was gonna say, and maybe there's a reason they're guildless at that point, right?
Unfortunately, you do often find the people that lost their spots, because they were going AFK all the time or doing other things. It's kind of a bummer. But all right.
Poker nights and stuff,
Yep. Hope all the different tips over the episodes help you guys. So yeah. Yep. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at The Yip Show.
Awesome. And we're going to send you guys back to the regular show.
Bye.
Time for the news. Okay, I'm going to play a quick word from our friends, Wiki and Cargos over at Hardcore.
Introducing a new league for WoW Classic. One life, where death equals delete. Welcome to Hardcore All-Stars, Season 1. Participate in 10 live events for $5,000 in prizes, with 2 ways to compete. Rally your friends for the first Hardcore World Tour. Compete as a team and survive 4 punishing dungeon circuits. Make it to level 60 to enter the final showdown. Or compete solo in dungeon drafts. Make a fresh character. Enter a draft. Be the first to clear the dungeon. And claim victory. The action starts on February 25th, 2023. Click the pinned comment and sign up today. Hardcore All-Stars.
Yeah, guys, and the link for that will be in the show notes, so check it out if you guys are interested. And it's gonna be going on for a bit, and there's gonna be more. So this is a Blizzard sponsored thing, and it's probably it's looking like we're going to get actual hardcore servers. So lots in store for hardcore. If you want to hear more about hardcore too, if you hadn't listened to last week's episode, check it out, guys. All right. So first up in news, just a little hot fix, but it does answer a question I kind of had back when they made this change. So a little while back, they made a change so the oceanic realms would be able to queue BGs and arenas with NA so that they could actually play them, because I guess it was really hard to get into a game. But I figured everything would be on NA servers, and someone on Countdown to Classic said that sometimes it'd be on Oceanic and sometimes it'd be on NA, and I thought that was crazy and it wouldn't work like that, but I guess it does. But now ranked arena matches will only be hosted on NA realms to cut down lag for the majority of people queuing. So just since they have a larger population, like they're going to get queued on that side. This sucks for Oceanic, and I'm sure they're not very happy about it, but I don't know. I don't know what else they could do. I don't know. Like, what do you guys think about this? Like, I just think it sucks to be a PvPer in the Oceanic realms.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it boils down to. It's kind of a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, I hear Josh talking about it all the time, and it just seems like the population that PvPs over in the Oceanic servers is low, and they need more players, and quick fix to that would just be linking it with North America ping issue. I mean, the ping is the issue, though, right? I would not like... I was competitive in PvP back in OG PvC, not really rap, but I joined an arena match and I was getting crazy ping because I was playing Oceanic players. That would frustrate me. I would not be happy. But I mean, it kind of just like Oceanic players are just probably happy that they're even getting games. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Corb said, a lose-lose, but it's the news, so we had to bring it to you, and just my heart goes out to all you guys down under. Sorry about that. Giving them a moment of silence for their loss. All right, and then the next piece of news isn't really news for us, but it just was interesting. I thought I would throw it up there, but the WoW token and as many character boosts as you want are now in the Taiwan Classic World of Warcraft shop. So I don't know. I don't feel like this means we're going to get the WoW token. A lot of people might speculate that this means that we are, but I mean, it happened in China forever ago and we didn't get it. Some people point out that this is now, China wasn't run by Blizzard, and this is a Blizzard run area, and they're offering it, so they're saying maybe it'll come, but I don't think it is. But the question I wanted to pose to you guys is, would the WoW token be so bad now?
Go for it, Corpse. I'll go after you.
I don't know. That's my answer.
I mean, personally, for the player, right? For the player, I think it would be fine. At this point, everybody knows somebody who's buying gold, pretty much. Like, it is so rampant, it is insane. I mean, Winky, you got Winky coming on your podcast, just saying, "Yeah, just fucking do it." It's true, because like everybody else is doing it, so why not? I think that they're not banning anybody for it, so might as well just make it like part of the game. I mean, it's part of the game in retail. Didn't want it, and I wouldn't have wanted it in Classic. PvC, it was starting to get to the point where like, hey, like everybody's doing this, and that's when GDP started like ramping up. And at this point, it's just like they're obviously not doing. There's no punishment for doing it at this point.
I still hear about people getting bans.
But they kind of did do it a little bit in TBC, but like I don't hear about it very much anymore.
Well, it's because I think people buying small amounts of gold doesn't set off their alarm. Like if you're getting a small bit of gold in the mail, like it doesn't set it off because they wrongfully banned too many people, probably because of that.
Yeah.
If you get a huge amount, I think people are still getting banned. But I heard last night something that I hadn't heard. I guess gold sellers now, if they sell a huge amount of gold, they join the person's guild. And it's a guild that's just theirs. It's not a real guild. And then they just put the gold right into the guild bank. And no one's checking that. I was like, huh. I bet that works. But there's a ton of GDKP people that run them, and you can just basically Venmo them cash for gold credit. So when you bid on something, you're actually never exchanging the gold for the item. You've already gotten gold credit by sending it to the runner of the GDKP. Now, I'm not saying you do that, Frew, but there are a lot of people that do that. So that's almost impossible to catch or police. So yeah, like
I don't really know how. I mean, I guess Discord. I guess you can manage all that through Discord. But I don't know. At the same time, I have other friends that are very much on the hey, like. I mean, this game is. With the amount of gold buying going on, this game is becoming, or it already has become, it's pay to win at this point, especially if you're doing GDKPs. Like, hey, you want an item, it doesn't necessarily make you a better player, but it will increase your damage. You have the ability to spend real life money and buy gear that you would never normally have, and a lot of people don't like that, and I'm right there with you. But like at the same time, I don't want to do a SR run as much as I wish that system worked. I don't want to do an SR run where half the people drop out after the first wing of Nax or something because their item didn't drop, and now I got to replace people.
That's the worst part of SR.
Yeah, I wish there was a better system. I don't know if there wasn't like a 2-hour limit on loot, maybe you could hold all the items until the end and then give it out. But GDKP, like everybody's getting something out of the GDKP, whether it be gold or items. So people are going to stick around to the end, and they're going to play better because they don't want to lose their spot, and would rather be in a raid that everybody. But back to the
up here. Hold on.
Wow.
Repeat what you just last said. You cut out.
Oh, sorry.
You'd rather be in a raid that people don't leave.
Oh yeah. So I'd rather be in a raid that people don't leave, and they're performing well, and they don't want to lose their spot or anything like that. Rather than be in a raid that people are just there for their one item that they SR'd, and if they don't get it, then they're just going to bounce early. But going back to the WoW token, I think it'd be a good thing. I mean, probably at this point. Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's probably okay to put in at this point with how bad gold buying is.
Yeah,
I mean, I run so many GDKPs. There's so many people that are like, man, this guy is dropping so much gold. Sometimes you just know. It's like, hey, like I'm very playing a lot in the GDKPs. I know a lot of the major players, and if somebody is coming in with a shit ton of gold and I don't know them, I mean,
and it's kind of unfair too, because anybody who would meet Kim Jong-un would think this guy buys gold for sure. But he's literally just captured the market on multiple tunes with the help of different people in the guild by incentivizing them, he has them making stuff for him, and they're getting a benefit out of it while he's just like cornering the market on lots of different things. He's almost gold capped twice. Like he almost has 2 twos that have gold cap, right? You know, so like it's just like people would think that, but you know, he's definitely the rarity. So you're gonna assume somebody with a ton of gold is buying gold. And I just want to combat some of the other arguments. Like people say, oh, well, if we bring in the WoW token, that'll kill bots. No, it won't. No. Gold, there will still be gold. There will still be gold sellers, and they will sell it cheaper. And that's the way it will still be. And you'll have an opportunity to buy that at less of a, or at more of a risk, or you could buy the gold token with no risk. So it would actually probably increase gold buying on the whole. Because I don't buy gold, but I would probably buy some tokens. I'm just saying, like, so yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it'll happen. I think this is a Taiwan only kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would also buy some tokens. It would be nice to not pay that monthly subscription.
Corpse, you do any GDKPs? I know you've done like 1 or 2 with me.
Yeah. I used to, my guild hosted GDKPs a lot back in tier 6, tier 7. Haven't done any recently for the most part.
Gotcha. Would you buy the token?
No.
Okay, fair.
I mean, I played retail for however long and never bought a token there.
Yeah, I'm actually not even sure I would buy a token because I do spend so much time on the game. Like I do, it just make money. It just keeps coming. Like, and you can make a lot of money just by doing dailies and stuff now too. And even like you can make a ton farming old world mats. Like there's a ton of markets for all kinds of different things. So yeah, that's because there's so much gold in the economy, and the gold buyers are willing to spend whatever on lower level mats so they don't have to go out and farm it. So if you're someone who enjoys that, you can actually really capitalize on it. But yeah, I just thought I would throw that in there. A little discussion on is it still something that would be bad or good? I don't know. You guys let us know. Write in. Leave a voicemail. Put a comment on the YouTube. Let us know what you think. All right. And the last piece of news. This one is interesting and scary as hell all at the same time. I don't know why they're doing it, but here it is. There is a free faction change they didn't say how long, they just said temporary. So hopefully it's still in when you hear the episode. Yeah. You can transfer free from Benediction to Faerlina or from Faerlina to Benediction. So I assume that comes with. Actually, I shouldn't assume. I figured it would come with a race change since those are opposite, but maybe they're trying to equal out the servers. So maybe that's what they're trying to do.
Faction change, right?
Yeah, now it's just clicking in my head that they're maybe trying to like equal out the Horde and Alliance sides on each side of the server, because it doesn't say faction change. It just says character transfers. So now faction change is in the game though, so they could just move over and change faction, which is probably what people who move do.
I was reading about it today, and it was a lot of people were talking like, I think Blizzard is intending this so that the people that are trapped on Faerlina Alliance or Benediction Horde can get off of the server, right? And go to the dominant server. But
they can do that for free, it seems like, with this change.
It opens up a can of worms because Alliance, if you only care about PvE, right? Or do you have the better racials? So do you want to get the better racials. I mean, this game's all about min max now. So like, hey, do you want to go over to Horde and get some better racials? You'd have to buy a faction change, get the transfer free faction change. I mean, I think that this change is just another. It's just another way that Blizzard can mess up server balance, and I personally don't like it. I mean, there's been so many people that have already transferred, and now that you've cashed in on all the people transferring, now we'll give you the free transfer. I don't. It's just so much. They do so many questionable things with server balance, and it's gotten to a point now that like, hey, just stop messing with it. Like everything you do is bad. Like just stop, please.
Yeah, because this, I guess, could be kind of cool for either one to try to balance out the two servers. It could be kind of cool, or to try and let people get off of the servers if they just can't do anything. But I don't like the fact that faction change is in, and you can do this because like all of a sudden be like, oh, now everybody's leaving. Okay, this is great. I just don't know how good this is at all.
I mean, even in the Benediction leadership channel, there's already talks of some of the top guilds. There's rumors going around. Oh, hey, this guild is thinking about going over to Faerlina. This guild, it's like, hey, man, I already went through this twice even. Did it on Herod, I did it on Netherwind. I'm on Benediction now because I don't want this to ever happen again. And, here's faction change. Also, here's a free transfer to the mega server.
Yeah.
Horde. Weird.
And the free transfers off dying servers were what originally killed my awesome server of Whitemane, which was like, I mean, it had turned into like 65-35, and Horde was over. It was maybe when they first did it, it was 60-40, I think. But, just took like a month or two, and then all of a sudden it was 15-85, and we couldn't even get into SSC without doing at least 3 corpse runs. And it's just like, we did find fun, interesting ways to summon into dungeons, though, which was kind of neat in a little like, guerrilla warfare way. But it's just like, that wouldn't have happened like that. It would have taken a lot longer to screw us over had they just not allowed you to go to the big servers, or just cut off and said, okay, Horde can't go here, only Alliance. Like, there's so many things that like they've never properly explained to me why they didn't do that sound so simple. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. I think it's literally they just won't do it and don't care enough to do it. And they have, especially before, I don't know about the team now, but they just had retail mentality and were like, well, people are just going to go and do whatever they want. And I was just like, dude, this game has people that really want to play, and they're more resilient than I think a lot of people understand. And so, no, I think they'll take the easier way if it's offered to them. But if it's not offered, I think they're still going to play for the most part. It's like what they did actually hurt more. Ugh. What do you think, Corpse?
So it certainly helps the people that are locked on the non-dominant faction on Benediction and Faerlina. So Benediction, Horde, Faerlina Alliance. I think this just gives people a paid way to transfer between Benediction Alliance and Faerlina Horde. So I think that's their main persuasion behind it.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that it's a very short, because it does mention at the bottom of that blue post, it's like, hey, we can turn this off whenever, do it quick, because it might not be around that long. I really hope that they just have it out there for a short duration, so the people that are stuck, that know they want to go, can quickly do it, and they shut it down before a large number of guilds organize and you get a large number of people transferring off. Although at the same time, like Benediction is pretty full. I don't know if you guys have been in Dollar. Well, I guess Corpse, you said you were in Dollar all the time. It gets freaking laggy. Like at all times of the day.
Tuesday lag day.
Woo. Bad.
This past Tuesday was the worst I've seen in months.
Yeah, me and Frew we're doing our fishing daily, and you hear the little bobber, and you click.
Yeah.
And then
5 seconds later.
5 seconds later, it makes the noise. Then 5 seconds after that, the fish goes in your bag. Then you can recast. Like, it was just hilarious, but. Yeah, but at the same time, I get into instant like invites to the dailies. Like, there's a lot of benefits. Like, in the middle of the night, I'm hammered on a Friday night, and I'm like, I'm gonna do a next GDKP 25 man, and it's there, 2 of them.
Yep.
And I'm just like, okay, let's do this. I'm gonna make a quick, easy 2K and call it a night, you know, like, so there is a lot of benefits to that lag too.
Mm-hmm. If you really need to take care of something, you can just go to Exodar or some in a less populated area.
Yeah.
And there's no lag. But, you know, I'm sitting there trying to do my fishing daily. Oh boy, rough.
Yep. Well, yeah, we'll see, but yeah, I'm with you. I wish they'd just stop messing with it. All right, well, anything else before we move on? All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes.
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right, everybody. This section is Ulduar tips and tricks, and we're just gonna go down the list, and I think we're gonna frame it mostly towards, as we talked about this prior to doing the show, we could frame it towards how to even min-max higher on hard modes for people that already have the hard modes down. But since the majority of people don't have the hard modes down, we kind of maybe just want to focus it on how to get the hard modes down. So if the boss has a hard mode, we're probably just going to talk about the hard mode. Might throw in some high-end tips if you guys want to at the end, like of each boss. But let's not waste any time talking about the normals, because most guilds have those knocked out. Like, it's amazing how different the difficulty is between lots of the 2 difficulties. So let's just jump in right away with Flame Leviathan.
All right, so Flame Leviathan, I've seen a lot of different, well, there's 2 main strats out right now. So Flame Leviathan, we either have 2 demos where you are preloading 2 people and then having 2 other people become the passenger, and you're launching those 2 people immediately. A lot of these strats we're going to just focus on 25 man. It'd be a little bit different in 10, but 25 man, preload 2 people. As soon as the fight starts, you're launching those 2 people up. What this does is you're immediately getting people up there for the shutdown to get that activated as soon as possible. The cons to this strat are you have 6 people or you have 5 people in a demo. Or sorry, correction. You have three people in the 2 of the demos, so it's 6 people total. And that leaves you less people for other vehicles. So you kind of have to choose, like, hey, do I want like one less gunner in the siege engine, or do I want 1 less motorcycle or two less motorcycles? And that'll change your strat around a little bit. But with that strat, usually you opt for less motorcycles, and you have 2 of the motorcycles that are mainly focused on picking up the people getting thrown up and bringing them back to their demos. And then the third motorcycle is kind of backup for that / ad control, putting down oil in the corners, which the other motorcycles should be doing if they're not driving people around. The other strat, the one that my guild uses, we have 2 demos that will alternate. Well, I guess not actually. We have 2 demos that will throw up the 2 people, and those 2 demos will not have a passenger, so they have to kind of play it a little bit safer. Kind of try to conserve their pyrite and keep their stacks up. And then once the shutdown happens, they kind of move in a little bit, and they have the people rocket boot over back to their demo passengers and refill the pyrite and get it going again. With that strat, that lets us have the maximum number of vehicles. So we have 4 motorcycles assigned to each corner, laying down oil, making sure they have oil up in the corner all the time. That way, the ads are burning and they're pretty much dying on spawn. The other strat that uses less motorcycles, they're not going to have oil up in their corners 24/7 because they have less motorcycles. So in order to have ad control on that one, you have your siege engine gunners that are really taking care of the ads, as well as lighting whatever random or oils that you have down and shooting pyrite down. Really important that your siege gunner, your damage it doesn't do anything to the boss. Your entire time that you're in there, you're lighting fires, killing ads, or shooting down more pyrite for the demos. I'm not really going to go into the basics of the fight. Where like, hey, yeah, keep up all your stacks, interrupt the Flame Leviathan. I probably won't go over the basics. I know that we've had other people on the show that have done that already. So
yeah, I think people need to know the basics. Like this is going to be like tips and tricks for people that are, progressing on hard mode. So they should know, the basics.
Yeah. But Flame Leviathan, it's all about if you have 3 demos that always have a passenger, it's going to be 3 consistent damage dealers. They're going to be dealing enough damage throughout the fight as long as you're not messing up the basic mechanics like standing in the fire orb, the fires that are on the ground, or getting frozen. You just got to avoid it. Any kind of light beam coming down, don't be in it. And as long as you're getting the 2 people up consistently and you're not doing it early and throwing them over Flame Leviathan to get killed by rockets afterwards, then it's honestly a very easy fight. Just siege gunners have to kill ads, keep stacks up, and keep refreshing pyrite. Flame Leviathan is very easy. It just takes a couple of tries to kind of get used to whatever your role is.
Depending on the role, yeah. Like I play demo, so I could give some tips and tricks for this. I play demo, and I'm usually one of the ones that throws people up because that's a little bit more difficult. I've done it every week, so I've got a lot of experience doing it. So one tip I will give you: if you're going to throw somebody up, make sure you stop, you hit it. It has a cast time. Aim the entire time the cast time's up. If he's moving, you could be aiming at it, hit it with the cast time, stop aiming, and then you shoot it right past his butt. So aim the entire time. If you have to run, what you try to do is you try to backpedal while still shooting pyrite, but then at some point tell your passenger to give you speed boost, watch. You should be able to see which one is yours, just by the last time you shot the debuff. And I think for everybody, it's no matter if I hit him first or second or third, It's always the one on the far left on my raid frames. I don't know if that's how everybody's raid frames show it, but you can turn really quick. If you really want to min-max it, you need to have the actual keyboard turning, like actually keybound. A lot of us don't have that. We just have strafe right and left. Keyboard turning turns you instantly, whereas turning with your mouse, you have a little bit of a delay. But you just need to turn, shoot it once, keep those 10 stacks up. You need to refresh it, then turn right back around and run again. You don't have to keep laying into them, but if you can keep laying into them, do that. Like, it's not just about the stacks. You're going to do more damage the more pyrite you hit them with. But the biggest deal is keeping the debuff on. If you're a passenger in a demo, even after
go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is a big one for the demo passenger and the siege engine passengers. Don't tell your driver, hey, I'm not close to pyrite. Throughout the entire battle, you can look up and shoot more of it down. Almost any place, you should be able to re-up pyrite on your own without having the demo, who's already doing quite a bit, like having to like move over to where you need it. Most of the time, you could shoot them down during the fight, and then the other thing I was going to say is the light beams that are blue, the ones that freeze you. If you're having a problem where it's just chasing you constantly, the way it works is you have to stop. It has to get on you for just a split second. Then you can move and it'll drop its freezing thing. If you keep running, it just keeps following you and never stops. So you have to stop for a split second and then move. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't get right off the bat. But that's kind of all I've got for tips. But Corpse, you were going to say something?
So one thing, mainly for demos, is be aware of when Flame Leviathan is going to switch targets, and you want to be fairly far away from him, like kind of max range when he's going to switch, just so if he happens to switch to you, you have plenty of time to get more DPS in before you have to start turning and running.
Yeah, because if he does catch up to you, he's going to smack you.
Yep, it's always better to survive than it is to keep your stacks up, honestly, unless you're like super close to a kill or something. But if it's like, hey, I'm going to drop my stacks if I turn, or if I run, he's going to catch you. Just run away. Forget about your stacks for a little bit. Get out of there. Because as soon as you die, then your stacks are gone forever. If you drop your stacks once, whatever. At least you can get them up again later.
Yeah, but you do need stacks. It is a big deal if you lose them. So Corpse's plan of keeping your distance is a really good one. Planning out properly can save you on screwing up there. Corpse, you had something else you were going to say, though.
I think 3 things. So that was one of them. Second thing is also for demos. When you're launching a passenger, you want to aim really low. Like your targeting reticle wants to not even reach Flame Leviathan. You want to be so low that your passenger is going to land before he reaches Flame Leviathan. So I probably try and aim for my passenger to land like 30 yards short of Flame Leviathan. They will rope onto Flame Leviathan. If you actually launch your passenger onto Flame Leviathan, there's a good chance that you'll just go right through Flame Leviathan and they'll just die.
Yeah, I usually aim for right in the middle of him.
Not me.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I actually aim right for him as well. The only time I've seen somebody go through is when they launch him too early during the shutdown.
Oh yeah, just let everybody know. Yeah, if you've just done a shutdown, don't relaunch right away. It'll just go right through him or over him, whatever. Like, you need to wait till he moves again. Yeah.
The third thing I will say is similar to the first thing in demos. Try and stay at max range. It's also applicable to siege engines when he's about to target change. like the Siege Engine's main job is to interrupt Flame Leviathan. You do not have to be in melee range to interrupt. So when I am driving a Siege Engine and he's about to target change, I just back out of melee range. The interrupt still has like a 25 yard range.
Yeah, I think
so
it's 25.
Yep. So I
idea.
am far outside of melee range, so that when Flame Leviathan switches targets to me, I can just turn around and run, and Flame Leviathan doesn't even get a hit on me because I start the engagement 20 yards away from Flame Leviathan.
That's a good tip there.
Yep. So like, for example, on the very first focus that Flame Leviathan does, he will do a flame jets or flame vents, whatever, like a second or two before he changes targets. So I'm deliberately outside of melee range in my Siege Engine. I wait for the flame jets, interrupt it, and then turn around and run. And if he doesn't follow me, then I can turn right back around and get into melee range. But Flame Leviathan isn't gonna melee me just because I was trying to get the interrupt.
Going back to your first thing, being far away from him, I'll add on to that the red beam, the one that drops fire, it kind of moves like a pong ball. When it hits a wall, it'll bounce off of it and then hit another wall. It bounces off the walls in straight lines. It hits a wall. Anyway, when you're in a demo, I guess any vehicle applies to. Don't be in a corner that's going to get walled off before he switches targets. So your change target is about to occur. Don't position yourself in a way that, hey, I can't move out of this corner, or my demo is going to go down to like 25% HP. I'll try to keep your eye on red beam and see where it's going to be, 10 seconds out pretty much. But yeah, all of that is very good.
Cool. Trying to think of anything else. Anything else? I think those were some pretty good tips. It's just you're just gonna have to practice some, and just knowing your role is gonna be big. And yeah, it's
surviving. Yeah, know your role and survive. It's a very easy fight even on hard mode.
Yep. Okay, well, I don't know how long these are gonna take, so I'm gonna say for now, maybe if we have time, we could come back to Ignis and Razor Scale, but I'm not really worried about those. Let's move on to XT Hardmode.
Folks, you want to talk about this one?
Okay. Couple things that cross into my mind. So any time you spend on the heart phase is an additional time that you spend on heart phase is additional time that he could spawn the pummelers or the bomb bots with the scrap bots. So if you even if you're comfortably making the DPS check before the heart phase ends to activate hard mode, you still want to get through it even faster just to minimize the number of ads.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yep. So if you're really overgearing, 10-man hard mode, and you can kill the heart in 15 seconds or whatever, like half of its duration, you can get through without a single ad, let's say.
Yeah, see, in 25-man, we've been saving cooldowns and lust, till after the heart mode's over, but that could make it a lot easier, though.
Yeah, we pop our cooldowns, including lust, like when the heart activates.
Huh. I'm gonna have to mention that, because that is a good point, especially in 10-man, because lots of times it seems like people have a hard time. Oh, a tip I could give for people that are trying to take care of those ads coming in is if you blow up the bombs, like if you don't have a ton of AoE, but if you just blow up the bombs, it does a lot of damage to the ads when the bomb blows up. I will
say, going back to that point with the blowing all your cooldowns on the heart, the only downside to that is you have less heroism cooldown uptime on XT, and a lot of the reasons why people wipe on XT is more so going to be tantrum damage, along with spark damage being out at the same time. That damage is probably, or people not moving out of mechanics, but that just needs to happen. During that heart phase, you're getting ads, but the ads are very manageable. Like,
right,
you're not going to wipe really, because unless you don't kill the bombs before they get to the raid, or the pummeler, the tank doesn't get aggro on the pummeler or something like that. That's probably not going to happen as much as like, hey, there's a spark out doing AoE damage, tantrums going on. We've already used all our D-sacks.
People don't like to kill the sparks.
Yeah. Actually, in all of my raids, I tell people like, hey, that spark's near you, you better be on it. Like range, you should be on that almost as much time as you're on XT. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure
range should be doing it. Like in a perfect world, range does them all and blows them up, and you just leave most of the XT damage to melee. But they don't seem to like to do that at all.
Anyway, Corpse, I'll let you go back over all that stuff.
As like the main tank for XT, feels like 70% of my time spent doing hard mode is hitting the life sparks, not even hitting XT.
Yeah.
Yep. Same. Yeah. Same when I do it too.
So one tank specific tip that could apply to the entire raid: the pummelers do almost nothing. I forget how hard they hit, but it's a couple hundred or 2,000 or something equally pathetic. Like, just passively cleave them down. Don't even try to actively cleave them down. They'll die eventually. They do not matter what in the slightest. So just focus XT and the life sparks. And that's all you need to do. Now I need to remember the other thing. So the most bursty part of the encounter for individual raid members' deaths is when a spark, either a light spark or more likely the gravity bomb, go into the tantrum. So the gravity bomb is something like 18,000 or 20,000 damage at the end of its duration, and the light spark is, I don't know, 5,000 damage every couple seconds. It is very likely that if you go into a tantrum with a debuff up, that those people are going to die. So pop an external on them, have them pop their own cooldown just to survive. When I see it happening, I will gladly tell them to use their external, like, hey, mage, just press block right now. Even though you're at 90% health, you're going to need it. Just press it. And stuff like that.
And press,
yeah, because mages are just going to die because they have so little health.
Press block on the void zone once you're out of the raid. Once you've moved it to the left and you're out of the raid.
Right.
Yeah, because like one beautiful thing about Rogue is as soon as I get it, I sprint over, cloak it off, sprint back. You know what I mean? So I can choose when to drop it, but somebody else, might need a bop, might need I'm trying to think. You don't want to use raid sacks, right? Because you're using those for the actual ground pound. But like, even a pain suppression might not be a bad idea, right? Like,
yeah.
It's like when the lethal part is when those debuffs overlap with the tantrum. So the D-sacks could be active,
but they need something else too, basically, right?
Yeah,
if they're in that if they're dropping that black hole right there.
It really depends on the class. Like you said, mages in particular, they will die. If you sneeze on a mage, they will die. They are so squishy. It is unbelievable. So that gravity bomb on them is a very deadly thing, like on a mage in particular. Make sure you have the pre-shield.
They die a ton too, dude. Our two mages just die all the time.
So a couple of the tips that I'll give out. Tremors. So your D-sack lasts for 6 seconds. Tremor lasts for 13. So depending on how many pallies you're bringing, right? And every pally should have D-sack. If your pally's not bringing D-sack, he's trolling your raid. That goes for all.
It goes for the rets. Yeah, you turn.
Yeah.
Every ret that comes with this is like, oh, I'm not expecting that. What?
Then what are you doing here?
Why? Yeah. What?
That is the reason to bring pallies. It's the strongest thing about pallies I mean, Argent Defender is pretty good for prot, but like, oh boy, ESAC is just the best.
Our ret is dual spec, double ret, so he has one Aura Mastery spec, one DSEC spec, and he switches on a fight by fight basis.
Now that's a good ret paladin. We appreciate you.
Exactly.
But anyway, so you can get 2 DSACs per trimmer if you have 4 pallies. That'll cover all the trimmers, and you don't have to worry about it. It does significantly less damage. You got a Shadow Priest, if you got a Disc Priest, which I imagine you do, you can have one of them use Divine Hymn on one trimmer. On another one, you can have Druids pop in, Trank. The tank, XT does not hit very hard. Your tank doesn't need a lot of externals on that fight. You can pop those on people that are have gravity bombs during tremors. Speaking of gravity bombs, one very, very common thing that I see in a lot of pugs, a lot of GDKPs is people will move out. They will move to the left with gravity bomb. However, they don't want to move out too far. So because they need their parse, so that they're only running out just far enough that they will not pull anybody off to the side. And once that happens about 5 or 6 times, you'll look over to the left and it's like, man, these dudes just made a gravity bomb wall on the left side that nobody can even get through without running through it. So if you get gravity bomb, please just run it out as far as you can where the healers can still heal you. Also,
and like certain classes, like if you're a mage, you can't blink back through. So maybe be nice. Go like as a rogue, I have sprint up. So I'll sprint around it, drop it on the other side, then sprint back around it. So, depending on your class, like you can do little min-max things to help your raid out tremendously.
If you're standing next to the previous shadow bomb or gravity bomb, if you're standing next to it, you won't take up as much room. Like you don't need to be spread out from the like you want to use as much. You're
saying overlap them as much as you can.
Right.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right. And then going the other way with it. So we'll go to the Searing Light now. So we're going right side. Light is right. When you have Searing Light, you need to get out of the raid ASAP. Get away from your friends because you're pulsing AoE damage. So move to the right foot and make sure you're actually on the right foot. You don't need to be way out.
Please don't be way out. Be right on his heels so I can taunt him and he doesn't have to run for 1,000,000 miles, please.
Yep. That is the exact point I'm trying to make. Like your tank wants to be able to just taunt it, have it run to him, and then it's going to drop aggro. It'll start going back out. Just taunt ping pong with the range that are killing it. Range, it might hurt your parse, but like at this point, we're giving these tips and tricks out so that you can actually kill the boss. You need to be swapping to those sparks like immediately. As soon as they spawn, all the range should be swapping to it, killing it, going back to XT. Another one spawns, swapping to it, kill it. Personally, my guild, I make the melee swap to it as well if either a trimmer is going on or if I think a trimmer is about to start. So that way, decrease the amount of time we're getting double tap by Searing Light and the trimmer.
Yeah, and depending what type of melee you are, like it is harder for some classes to swap to the spark. Like for a combat rogue, especially if you're assigned to do armor pen, like it could be a big pain in the ass, like if the spark comes out at certain times in your rotation, but you could always just tab and white hit it too. Like say you're a combat rogue now, so that's something for that. But and then a feral druid, like it's a pain in the ass for them to swap over too. But you don't need everybody to do it all of the time. But if you're having more than one spark up at a time, melee needs to help at that point, and your casters really should probably step it up, to be honest. Like if that's happening,
you should never have 2 sparks up, never.
Yep. Oh yeah, Corpse. You were talking about doing like having like how your ret has those 2 different specs. That's awesome. Like I'm combat rogue, and I have like 7 different glyphs in my bag at all times, so I can swap them during different fights. And like I oftentimes have to do, you know, like depending on who didn't show up or yada yada yada. Sometimes I'll have to do crippling and wound on like Freya. Like I have to do armor pen on certain fights that just make more sense for me to do it, like because they're quick, you know, swaps and stuff. But yeah, I try to be as Swiss Army as I can. Sometimes it really sucks though when you can't parse. Like you're just like, damn it, I was gonna parse this week. Okay.
I mean, yeah, my paladin is the same way. So for those who don't know, I only play prot, but. So, for example, I have Glyph of Salvation on for Iron Council, Algalon, and maybe Thorum, but I do not have it on for say Hodir because you need more DPS. I don't have it on for Vezax. I guess Vezax doesn't matter because I'm never tanking it on 25. But stuff like that, where I'm the same way. I'm just switching glyphs so often on a fight by fight basis. So I have like 6 different glyphs or something in my inventory at any given time.
I only carry 4. Which ones are you? I'm bringing Avengers Shield one, Divine Plea, Salve, and Judgment. What other ones do you use?
Oh geez, I'd have to find out. I don't think I've ever swapped out Divine Plea, although maybe I should for like Hodir.
Yeah, there's a lot of the fights that are like that don't do a lot of damage where I don't mind dropping it. Like you know, Polgarn, Razor Scale, Ignis, yeah, just those 3 really.
So let's see. Did you say you had Avenger Shield in your?
Yeah, I use that on the single target fights.
Okay, yeah, okay. I also have Judgment, which is like, I think it's the best best DPS glyph when you really want your Avenger Shield to hit.
Yeah, usually
hit more than one target.
Yeah.
So I'll like have it on for like XT, for example, since it's really just a 2 target fight because the life spark is up 70% of the time, it seems.
Yeah. Sorry. No, you guys were talking about. I was just thinking. I was gonna like point out something too about. If you can play in combat for your guild, you probably need to be the Swiss Army knife too. Because, like, say for instance, I drop instant wound or instant poison for wound. That's like a 5 to 6% DPS loss. Maybe a little less than that, but for an assassination rogue, doing that is like a 15 to like 20% DPS loss, and then they can't even do their rotation without deadly poison. So you're just kind of stuck with it. But I interrupted you guys. I was in my own head just thinking about freaking rogues.
Yeah, the rogues.
Nothing to say.
a lot of the I would say a lot of that kind of stuff is more like 10-man oriented. Like, because I mean, in 25-man, you could have an arms warrior, right, to do Mortal Strike, or the survival hunters. Most of the survival hunters are leaning towards having aim shot now. So, just because Mortal Strike is so valuable on some of the fights.
Well, that's a good point. So, combat rogues, just wait for your day, because so right now we have one. For the most part, we always have one Fury warrior. We don't usually take in arms, right?
Yeah, same.
But in ICC, for instance, we'll probably have an arms and 2 or 3 Fury warriors. So at that point, if you want me to do armor pen, I'm going to tell you to suck it. Like, warriors do it first global, period. Like, at that point, it makes sense. But right now, armor pen makes so much more sense for me to do with only one warrior trying to get like stacks up when I could do it so much faster, And assassination rogues can do armor pen fast too. They just need to swap out fate for the exposed armor glyph, and they can still do it fine with their rotation. So don't let them bullshit you on that in 10 mans and say it's not worth it. So it's not worth it for them, but it's worth it for your raid.
I think if we kind of tangented.
Yeah, we totally did. Yeah, we totally did.
Yeah.
I think we were kind of done with
anything else for XT.
Yeah, we were kind of done with with XT.
And I'll just kind of summarize XT real quick. Like, do the basic mechanics, right? The light on the right, shadow, run it out to the left, right? And then the most important part of the fight, obviously, is the tantrums. Just make sure you're using your DSACs, and then you have tranquilities and
divine hymns.
Divine hymns, or divine hymns. And then on top of that, gravity bomb does do a lot of damage. So if you need to use external cooldowns on somebody, probably on people that get gravity bomb during tantrums, if you could save people, because when you have like 1 or 2 people dying, and that's usually the case, gravity bomb going off during a tantrum. If a lot of people are dying, it's probably during the tantrum, and the healing, the healers just can't keep up with the damage, which means you're not using your externals during that time. Also, Hellstones. Use your Hellstones during tantrum. Help your healers.
Yep. And if you're in raid, just every once in a while, when a lot of damage is going out, it doesn't need to be the raid leader. Just say, don't forget your health, your Hellstones. I personally forget all the time, but my awesome raiders say something, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I do it. So help a raider out. All right, let's move on to Assembly of Iron, the Council.
All right, I was kind of giving Bob a hard time over this, and I was watching all his attempts on it with his guild, and I was whispering him and his raid leader. I was whispering everybody. I was like, hey, try this out. Anyway, so for those of you that know Iron Council, the first 2, you're doing the hard mode. You're killing the little guy first, medium guy second, and then Steelbreaker at the end. Technically, your damage on the first 2 don't really matter that much, because every time you kill a boss, the other 2 or the other ads get healed back to full. I'll start. We'll just kind of run through the fight and kind of say, what my guild does. So we tank all the ads at the beginning on top of each other. That way we can get the Rune of Power in one spot, pretty much. I'm the prop pally, so the off tank is usually tanking the kill target during phases 1 or 2, and then I will start on Steelbreaker at the end. We have our off tank tanking the small guy at the beginning. I'll be tanking the medium and the big one. Once I have like pretty good threat on Steelbreaker, I usually just focus all of my attention on the Rune Master, and that's so that I can get the off tank enough threat. When he taunts, he won't have to worry about threat at all. So I'll do as much threat onto the medium guy as possible, and that way when the rune goes out, the off tank taunts the medium guy, and he's set on threat, doesn't have to worry about it. The only notable thing for Lightning Little Dude is Interrupt him, and when he casts Overload, we don't have anybody run out. We pop 1 DSAC during that, and nobody dies. Players can use their own defensive, so Feint, Icebound Fortitude, AMS, whatever they want to use, they can use, and nobody's going to die. Even if you don't pop a cooldown, you're not going to die from it. You're just helping your healers at that point.
And see, I don't run out for that.
Yeah, you shouldn't. It doesn't do enough damage.
I do Feint and Cloak, and then I'm fine.
Caveat to that is as long as he's not in the Rune of Power. If he's in the Rune of Power, he's going to do a lot more damage.
Yeah.
Make sure he's not in that.
I think he could kill people if he does the overload from a Rune of Power, even when the DSAC is active.
Yep. So as long as he's not in the Rune of Power, the DSAC will protect everybody.
That's
Nobody
a
will
good
die.
idea. That's a lot of extra. That's a lot of extra damage for melee.
Yep, everybody. A lot of these are going to be. Yeah, I did a GDP last night where the raid leader did not want to do hard mode Iron Council, and I was like, hey, like, just let me raid lead it, and we'll see how close we can get. And you know, it wasn't my raid, but I was like, hey, like, let me raid lead this. Let me give it a shot. And we did maybe 4 or 5 attempts. We actually didn't kill it, so I don't know. That probably speaks a little bit to me. But we did get him to like We got him to 0.6%, and then we couldn't duplicate it.
That's the worst.
Yeah. But we did phase 1 just the way I explained it. Phase 2 for Rune Master, and this is what I was telling you, Bob, is we tank him. So he gains the ability of Rune to Death, right? A lot of guilds, we will, about 5 seconds before Rune of Death comes out, they will decide to spread out, and that way you're not getting the Rune of Death on the actual rune itself. However, Rune of Death will not happen like at a precise time. It just unlocks at a certain time. So you could be spread out for 5 seconds. You could be spread out for 15 seconds. That is a lot of damage to miss out on, especially with the Rune of Power. So what I do is I have everybody just stay there. And depending on how many pallies you have, we just continue DPSing. We completely ignore the Rune of Death. We have 3 healers standing on the outside to soak static charges from Steelbreaker at this point. Best case scenario, Rune of Death goes on one of the healers that's not standing in the group. Then we didn't lose all the DPS from spreading out. Everybody's in the rune. We never stop doing damage. Perfect. Worst case scenario, it goes on the raid, right? You have one Holy Pally pop or a Mastery Shadow. Another Pally at the same time pop DSAC. So not only are you taking less damage, you have more resistance to Shadow, so you're taking even more or less damage. Everybody rocket boots. And it's very, very important that when you are moving out of the Rune of Death, the tank, the off tank, and everybody that was stacked under the boss stays together and continues to stay stacked under the boss. That way, static shock doesn't fly out and hit the raid. It's going to do a lot of AoE damage that shouldn't have to heal in the first place. Anyway, so and somebody asked last night, they were like, well, what does that buy us? What does that do for us? Like, why would we do that when we could just spread out? Phase 2 doesn't matter, right? Steelbreaker is going to heal up to full. Who cares? The answer to that is you're maximizing your damage so that when you get to the next rune of power, Rune Master is already about to die. Like, if you don't get the amount of damage out that you need to before that next Rune of Power comes out, and he's at like 20% or something, that means you're going to spend you're going to have to wait another rotation.
Yep.
So that's a lot of mana going down the drain. That's a lot of time you're just standing there, not doing anything. The healers are still freaking out because, fusion punches are still going out. Static shocks are going out, so they have to worry about keeping themselves alive, all that stuff. So if you can do that and you just push them straight into the next Rune of Power, and as soon as the Rune of Power goes down, as soon as he starts casting it, you just pop Lust. He can't die until he finishes his animation. So as soon as you see that cast bar go off, pop Lust, blow everything, all your cooldowns, kill him immediately. Ideally, you do have a couple of extra seconds to get debuffs on Steelbreaker, but Rune of Power goes down, Steelbreaker is standing in it. At this point, you're throwing all your externals into your main tank. It doesn't, as long as you have externals going, Paint Suppression, Divine Prot, Divine Sacks going out, Hand of Sack, Trinkets. There's so many things that you could do to reduce the damage. You can keep Runebreaker just right in the rune. As long as you have Argent Defender up, you don't even have to worry about it. Argent Defender procs, yeah, okay, time to move, But just keep them right there in that rune. Keep cooldowns going, and all your melee get full uptime on the rune, full uptime on heroism. Your casters are getting full uptime. I don't know about your guild, but we kill him before the tank even dies, and that is
on 10 men or 25.
25 men.
Yeah, okay, 10 man's a joke. Yeah, 25 man's tough. 10 man's a joke.
Yeah, we haven't killed him before the first tank death. I guess
it's happening like right before I die. Like today, or not today, yesterday, I died right as the boss died. So like it was probably fractions of a second before the tank or before he got healed. The week before though, I had like a good 2-3 seconds. So I wish I would have DI'd somebody, but whatever. Probably killed some melee.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had him on one of our attempts. I think we had him under 10% before the first tank died. Yep, like, so it's definitely doable for a lot of guilds, I'm sure.
Yeah, so it looks like for our kill this week, the first tank died at when Steelbreaker had 12% HP.
Yeah, so you guys are getting close. I think with the more uptime with the melee, like a lot of people just are so scared of him being in a rune and the fusion punch going out. But if you're a gear pally at this point, like even a rune punch or a fusion punch with a rune, even that's probably not going to kill you. As long as you're getting that magic dispel off immediately and you have some kind of external going, I survived through it just fine, honestly.
Okay. Well, do you have anything else you want to add, Corpse?
Let's see. For the third phase, this is mainly on the Steelbreaker, the first Steelbreaker tank positioning. I've said this like so many times to so many people, but the positioning for the tank is very, very, very finicky. Where there is this like probably 2-yard wide Goldilocks zone where Steelbreaker is outside of the rune himself, but the melee DPS can still hit Steelbreaker from inside the rune. If Steelbreaker is too close to the rune, he'll benefit from the rune itself. And if Steelbreaker is too far outside of the rune, the melee can't hit Steelbreaker from inside the rune. So especially for a progression kill, it is very important that the tank like learns how to position Steelbreaker very well in that regard.
It's a tough fight for the tanks. Like,
yes, it is.
Like once you get better at it, it gets a lot easier, but it is definitely a tough fight because like you want to get them out of the rune fast, but then you do one step too far backwards and he just walks way more forward than you thought he was gonna, and then you can't back him up.
Yeah.
At that point you have to go through him, pivot, swivel fast, make sure he doesn't hit you in the back and move him the opposite way. Like, so
yeah, once he grows like twice, that last phase, his hitbox is really finicky. I agree 100%. Another thing that you have to worry about, tanks, I know you just get all this thrown on you, but if you are about to detonate, right? Two things actually. One, you want your off tank to taunt at like the last second possible for you to have enough time to actually get out. We decided that was about 3 seconds for us when we were progressing, and that's because once Steelbreaker hits you, that's when you get the debuff, right? So you want to maximize the amount of time that you have on the fight. Like if you're cutting it close with 2 tanks, you want to have the most amount of time before that second tank dies and gets healed again. So the more time that you can have tanking him before you die. Yeah, I kind of just said that. Anyway, you just want to taunt keep it as close as possible, but still allowing the main tank that's about to blow up to get far enough away from you to detonate, and that doesn't do damage to you. And speaking of detonating, when you're running out, I rocket boot out at 3 seconds. Or I did. Make sure, I've done this so many times that my healers, they're just hating me. I would rocket boot and I would just run straight into a healer and detonate on them. And it's just like, oh, I just wiped this because you just got a double heal.
That happened to Yip on one of our attempts when we were progressing. It was like, and you heard it in his voice. He's, oh no. You just know he was like, damn it.
Yeah. Just gotta know where the healers are before you run out.
Yeah, we had that problem too, and we basically had to position our healers like be on the backside of Steelbreaker so that the tanks have the entire like forward hemisphere of Steelbreaker to run out to, so you can't really go wrong there.
Yep. But yeah, that's all I got for Iron Council.
Awesome. Yeah, I was doing it in 10-man, and I've done it like 3 times now as a tank, and it like the first 2 times we just one-shot it, and I was like, oh, okay. But then we didn't have enough DPS on the first attempt we did the last time, and I didn't even know I could blow up at that point. Like, and so I just blew up and killed the raid. I was like, what happened? They're like, you have to run away. But then, chat was like, well, should be killing them before you blow up in 10-man. But yeah, you could maybe run AM away, but I think most people in 10-man are starting to switch to 1 tank rather than 2.
I think Mel mentioned it last week. That fight is so drastic between 10 and 25, man.
Yep. Al Sadar in chat is our tank fabulous. He's been on the show before too, and he was like about to try it in our last 10-man, but then we didn't try it. And then I think you and a bunch of people in chat were like, oh yeah, he could definitely do it. So I think he's going to try it next time. Yeah, in 10-man.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, you should be able to solo tank everything. Besides, I mean, you can solo tank Algalon, but that's only if you're like really try-harding. But everything besides Algalon is 1 tankable. And then.
All right, well, let's move on to, we're going to skip Kolagar, skip Ariaya, and
one other thing I just need to remember.
Go.
Oh, okay. So 10-man, whatever, use a single tank, doesn't matter. It's just a trivial fight. On 25-man, if you're doing hard mode, if you have the DPS to do it in 2 tank swaps, like you're killing Steelbreaker before the second tank, everything's all hunky-dory. But if you don't have the DPS to do that and have to do the 3 tank strat, which is after one of your tanks dies in that last phase, he gets a battle res or takes the soul stone and eventually becomes tanking again. That is actually pretty hard to do. You need a whole bunch of like planned out choreographed defensive cooldowns to live through that. It's how I think most guilds are getting their progression kills on Iron Council, but it does take a lot of preparation to do so. So we were like chaining divine sacks on the raid just so the healers would live through the static shocks, and we had our tanks with their big defensive cooldowns and pain suppress and whatever else to live through the I don't know 20 seconds or whatever that they need to live.
Yeah.
In order to get that kill.
I think ideally, if you're trying to progress this, ideally you only need 2 tanks. If you're going for that third tank, it gets rough because like your damage just can't keep up with like the length of the fight. But you should be aiming for about 20% or less before or right as your first tank dies. So if you're getting the 20% HP, then you definitely have the damage to do hard mode. Just going to take some practice and get used to. It's really just the most vulnerable time during that fight is that transition between the main tank dying and the off tank picking it up. If you could save like pain suppress for that, that's probably the easiest way to transition between tanks.
And also Otis on like your individual cooldowns for DPS as a DPS. Everybody, like each DPS is a little different, and like I could use some of my cooldowns multiple times throughout until we get to Steelbreaker because of the amount of time that we take to get to Steelbreaker. But the biggest thing is have all of your cooldowns when you get to Steelbreaker. Whatever that may be, it's going to be different 100%. For whoever, for however fast you kill it, but do not get to that part and not have your cooldowns. That's the most important part.
I think most raids, you will be safe popping 2 and 3 minute cooldowns at the start.
At the very beginning, yep.
Yep, they will be up again for Steelbreaker. Anything longer than that, you should just hold it. And yeah, you need to have everything available to you till Steelbreaker. Every cooldown, second pot. If you're pre-potting on the first guy, we do it just because parsing. But the quicker you can kill Steelbreaker. I mean, that's the fight, right? You just kill Steelbreaker before he heals too much, right? So.
Yep. All right, well, let's move on to Freya. Who wants to start?
I mean, as long as you have good kiting on Snaplasher, like holding threat as the range tank or whatever. Really, the only dangerous part of the fight is, well, two dangerous parts. One is the detonating lashers. As long as you handle that, you know, it's pretty easy fight. The other thing, which is much less deadly now that we're not wearing max gear anymore, but the burst DPS on random raid members during the big conservator phase is, or at least was, very deadly. So as long as you can live through those two things, this hard mode's a pretty easy fight.
I can give a couple little tips. When you get the three guys, the water Ella metal guy, he's like paper. Okay, so just if you're the one assigned to kicking him, you need to make sure to kick him, because it's a pain in the ass if he gets his cast off. But maybe like help the, like, what's the other one next to him? It's not the Snap Lasher, it's the
Storm Lasher.
Yeah. Maybe do most of your damage on the Storm Lasher, and maybe make yourself a focus kick macro to actually kick him. Because, I mean, he dies so fast. You need those three guys to die at the same time. So that's what I do. I have it on a focus kick, and then try to do as little damage on him as possible, because he's literally paper and he's going to get cleaved down by the other classes too. So yeah, that's one tip I can give there. And then also, for when you get all the little guys that blow up, if you're a mainly single target DPS, just don't hit them. Like, just hit Freya or hit nothing, and just stack in the middle, because if you cleave two of them down really quick, like,
just keep pushing tab.
I mean, you can do that if you're good at it, but like, just don't single target one of them down, like, because that can be a big pain in the ass for the raid. Just let the rest, like, there's a lot of times where you don't have to do shit. Oh, and also, when the fight starts, don't hit Freya. You're wasting all your trinket procs, everything else. Like, I go in circles on my motorcycle around her, you know, at the start. Don't waste time. Don't, unless you have something specific you need to proc for your class to get certain things up. Like, don't even mess with it. Just leave it be.
So, like, ferals can put up Savage Roar, rogues can put up Slice and Dice. DKs can get their diseases on
what
Pestilence.
you're using.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to hit it because it's going to pop my trinkets. I'm just like, I want those to pop.
You're using Great Toll or Dying Curse, basically anything that has
basically any trinket that's out now for melee. Like, they're all procs. Like, they're not on use. Like, I can't think of one on use right now that I'm trying.
So I'll kind of go over like what we do for each pack, right? So it really depends on. I will say, from all the raids I've done, the most vulnerable part of that fight is honestly probably the lashers, the exploding lashers. Is that what they're called? I can't remember what they're called.
Detonating lashers.
Detonating lashers.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, being able to handle those is probably one of the more important things. As long as you're taking care of like all the other basic mechanics, like big tree, you get the debuff, you just run away, right? You get away from everybody else. If you're doing damage, great, but if not, just, you know, who cares? Just go away from people. The roots spawn, kill the roots as soon as possible. Don't stand in sunbeams, like all that stuff's kind of basic, right? Don't cast during ground tremor unless you have an aura mastery concentration going on. That's all basics. But the lashers, depending on how your group wants to do it, the way that we do it is we use an Army of the Dead on every lasher pack. That keeps them kind of grouped up. And once they're at about 30%, we have a Druid Typhoon them back. If they get kind of close again, then we will blast wave them from Fire Mage. And
you can also use You could also use a elemental chamois to boop them. Your combat rogue could use crippling. The combat rogue stuff really comes into play for me a lot in 10-mans. Like crippling could be really nice. Usually in 25-man, you've got enough tools.
A lot of groups. So if you're running with a prot warrior,
it's so good.
Yeah, you get that stun.
Shockwave.
Yeah,
Yep, Shockwave's so good.
Shockwave, and then you can knock them back. That's great because then you get a little bit extra time of running. Hunters can run entrapment. I personally do not like entrapment because you can't knock them back if they're stunned or if they're rooted. But yeah, you root them, and then everybody starts booking it. And as soon as they become unrooted, you have one of the knockback classes knock them back. All the warlocks just turn around, start seeding. You get mind flays, get blizzards going.
The Destro Lock stun's pretty nice too. The AoE stun.
Yes, if you really need a stun, by all means, take a Destro Lock or have somebody respec.
Did you see though?
Ooh.
Did you see recently though?
No.
Destro is now above Debo.
No way! I don't believe it.
Hold on, I'll pull it up. Yeah, but go ahead if you have anything else. We're running out of time. This might have to turn in.
Okay. Yeah,
we might have to have you guys come back next week.
Yeah, maybe. We'll try to speed it up. But anyway, just handle that. Handle the lashers however your group comp depends on it. If it does get out of control, then you need to stop AoEing because you don't want to AoE them when they're on like 10 or so people and fight pretty much. Then you want to swap to single target, and the raid leader will call that out. Hopefully, and you can kill them one at a time, heal up the damage as soon as it dies, kill another one, heal it up, kill another one, heal it up, etc. For the snap lasher on the trio, Corpse, you mentioned that you guys have a range DPS tank it.
Yep.
I just popped Divine Protection or something. And I'll get it as much threat on it as possible, and then I'll book it and just run away and let it have a Death Knight blow it, and it'll just waddle to me, and just dies naturally with cleave pretty much.
Yeah. So last week I did do the solo tanking of Freya.
Mm-hmm.
Which made that part easier. If you are two tanking and you have one of your tanks kiting Snaplasher around, the other tank, the one on the Water Spirit in the Storm, keep them all the ads co-located. So you just want it on all your cleave to go to hit everybody.
Yep, try to keep them stacked as possible. I don't really think there's much else for Freya. It's just use your T-Sacks for the armors, which I miss all the time, and my Holy Pally gives me shit about every week. Just so much going on as a Prop Pally tanking all the ads. Okay, look, sorry.
There's also the big guy, the big tree. If you're a rogue or a hunter, do your whatever tank is going to be taking that. Do them a favor, give them a misdirect, a tricks, so they can get them over. Because it's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, depending on mushroom placement. So just do them a solid and help them out a bit, and maybe casters don't blow it up until you see it get into position, like once you got the fight down, like you're gonna blow them up. But like if this, we're talking about progressing here.
Yep. And then just move away from seeds. Easy.
Yep.
Make sure everybody's stacked for that. You don't want a couple range DPS, wherever the tank is trying to move them to next. And you get a seed or two over there, and then they blow up, and everybody goes flying. Everybody needs to be in one position, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's for the last phase when you're walking her back and forth across the water. Everybody, I don't care who you are, if you never talk in Discord at all, just press push to talk and say seed. Just if anybody sees it, say it, and whoever they pop on, it's super easy to see because your camera like basically goes to the back of the seed and it looks like something just enveloped you. It's the weirdest thing. So anybody they pop on, you can see it really easily, whereas it's a little harder to see if it doesn't pop on you. So just call them out because it can wipe your whole raid. Yeah, I think there's a lot going on, but it's one of the easier hard modes. Like, it's the second one we got down, and I think our 10-man's got it down like the second week, like the first full week or whatever. So it's it's one of the easier ones. There's just a lot going on. Okay, so I think we are going to have to, I don't know if you guys are free next week, but we're going to have to do, there's no way we're going to get through what I have to get through before. So I'm going to do one last one. And it's a little selfish because we did our first prog on it this week. And I think if we hadn't have got hard stuck on Iron Council this week, we would have had enough time to actually get it down. But any tips and tricks I'd love to have for next week's prog and hopefully kill. So let's do Mimiron. We'll save Thorum, Hodir, General, Yogg, and Algalon for next week. Are you guys cool with that?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
Makes it easy on me too. I don't have to try to find other guests next week.
Corpse, I think the way we should talk about this one, we should just go through the phases.
Phases, yeah.
Yeah. I'll let you kind of explain the beginning, and then I'll throw in whatever.
So just overall, the fight is largely about managing the fire placement. Every 30 seconds or something, a couple fires get put on or near raid members, and they'll start following the closest raid member to each of those fire heads. And so a lot of the fight is just placing the fire intelligently so that there's not a whole lot of impact to the rest of the raid, or at least a more manageable impact. So, for example, or just to get started in phase one, it's pretty straightforward. The main mechanic that you have to deal with is the napalm shell, I think, which is goes on a random raid member and spreads to anyone within 6 yards. So you'll just need to spread out all of your raid 6 yards away from everyone else, so that it only goes on one person. It's survivable if it goes on a second person, but it's not pretty. It's obviously a lot easier to spread out on 10 men than it is on 25, but it's still well within reason to have everyone spread out on 25. We generally have one person kiting the fires that are in dangerous positions. So if fires go on melee players, I'll intentionally move the boss away so that melee can follow, and the ranged person who's kiting fires can get to those fires and be the closest target so that the fires actually follow them. So the fires leave melee range, because fires are very dangerous in melee, because melee can't really DPS when there's a fire around. I don't know what else.
Who generally do you have? We generally see people looking at VODs and stuff using a hunter druid. We usually see him using
we have a resto
druid doing it.
If you have a resto druid, yeah, go for it. We do not have a resto druid. I think that's obviously the ideal candidate. Phase one is very healing light, so you can absolutely sacrifice a healer even on 10 men to kite fires like that if so needed. We use a hunter, I'll just say, like, at the start of the fight, everyone's stacked up in a cubby just to put all the fires right in one spot, just so there's not too much fire spreading. Those ones aren't that important to kite around because they're often on the side of the room. It's far more important to maintain good positioning of the fires that spawn later on in the fight.
Yeah. So, yeah. Are you done?
Yeah, sure. For now.
Okay. Sorry. So I'll add that. Another mechanic would be the plasma.
The plasma, whatever, on the tank. Yeah.
Yeah. So the tank debuff one, you take care of that just using divine protection and on the first one, and paint suppression on the second one. I usually don't have more than 2 of those.
Right. I don't think I've ever had a third one. For me, I just pop wings on pull, so I don't have divine protection for the first one. So I'll just swap it. I use my DSAC on the first one and with the paint suppress to live through that, and then the second one is covered solely with divine protection.
Yeah.
We were starting in the back left, all of us, and then we would, like, the fires would drop, we would run. We had a druid. He wasn't resto spec. He was boomkin spec. He's going to be resto spec for it next week, but he would sit there and then he would kite the fires. The tank would grab the boss, pull him over to the right of the button, and then Rage would kind of space out behind the boss. And then basically when the fires would come, the tank would kite him about a fourth of the way around the room, like if you would imagine it as a racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
We had some really good success getting this done. We actually got this, like, we got it down to where we're in phase 3 now. So, but it's real interesting because other people might do it a lot differently.
What I do is the entire raid starts up stacked at the button, and so, or right in the cubby right by the button. So the fires start there. I'll just tank the boss right in the middle of the room until either fires get to me or like the shock blast comes.
Okay, that was what Yip wanted to do too.
Yeah.
But then we weren't letting him do that. So interesting.
I do it kind of different. I just like everybody else, everybody stacks in the corner. Fire start over there. Rest of the druid starts kiting it. I start the fight and I drag him straight to the button. The mines go out. I'll actually drag the boss a little bit over the mines a little bit. But move him a little bit toward the button.
That's what we were doing.
Yeah, the mines come out. I yell at all the melee, "Hey, look where the mines are. Don't hit those when you're running out." And then fire spawn. Typically, they'll spawn on melee every so often. I pretty much just always assume it's going to spawn on the melee. During this first shock blast, so I'll drag him a little bit, kite him very slowly, or just turn him like 90 degrees so that the melee have somewhere to go. As soon as that happens, shock blast is right behind that. I'll actually rocket boots to the opposite side of where the fires originally spawned, to the west side of the room, I guess. All the melee will dodge fire, dodge mines, and get over there eventually. They lose a little bit of uptime during that move. But more fires will go out. The other fusion blast, that's what it's called, or plasma blast. Plasma blast? Yeah, that sounds right. Plasma blasts go out.
Yep.
But the thing we haven't talked about yet is the flame suppressant that he uses. So flame suppressant, all the fires in the room will go out. At that point, your entire raid. So at that point, you need to be thinking about phase 2. So everybody is going to want to be in the middle of the room for phase 2. So everybody needs to move to the outside of the room so that when more fires start spawning, they're not going to be impeding you into phase 2 and trying to burn down probably the biggest burn phase of the fight. So everybody moves to the outside of the room, and mind you, you still need to be spread for napalm. You just need to be out of the middle. And we slowly drag them back to where we walked into the room, or where we walked into Mimiron's room. Similar cubby as to where you originally started the fire. And then the boss will die. Phase 1 will end. Usually have like 30 seconds, I think. During that time, you're getting as close to the wall as possible, stacking the raid up so you can spawn fire just like you did when you pulled the boss. fires will go out. We'll get more Hellstones down, just in case somebody had to use one for a napalm strike, because it does so much damage. And of course, the mages always get it again, and they're the squishiest class. So
isn't that the truth? They always get it.
It's so true. They always get it.
They always get it.
So we're dropping more Hellstones between each phase. That way they can get more. And then we kind of just we have one person marked as the fire guy. We'll all just stack on him and we'll move with him so that we're dragging the fire around. And that's all in preparation for phase 2 as well, because phase 2, there's going to be an ability called Water Bomb. And you want that to be as far away from the boss as possible. So as long as all the fires are on the outside of the room, you won't have to worry about it as much, depending on where the fires go.
So if like the water bomb is like, say, halfway to the edge of the room, your melee will have to actually like move out from meleeing the boss just to get away from the water bomb's explosion. It'll explode after like 10 seconds and do something like 20,000 damage or something to all the melee. So it's a pretty big chunk of damage.
Yeah, I think we covered everything for phase 1. So does anybody anything else you want to add to phase 1 specifically, Corpse or Bob?
I don't think so. You can have like a bubbled paladin or dispersed shadow priest, like pop rocket boots and just eliminate a lot of the mines.
Same with a rogue too. Same with the rogue cloaking.
Rival hunter, dispriest, dispersion, or sorry, not dispriest, shadow priest with dispersion.
Yep.
There's a lot of ways to get rid of those. So, it is very nice if you can get rid of them too.
So we let the first set of mines stay because there's not a whole lot of fire to avoid, and it's not a very stressful fight at that point. As soon as the second set of mines comes out, we call on our shadow priest to do his deed.
Yep.
Okay, now question on that.
Probably about half the time he ends up dead because he's getting greedy.
Going? Yeah. I've done that before.
So question on that, because like it's something I could help out just a little bit with the raid to do sometimes. How, like, I'm always worried about blowing those mines up because I feel like they hit other people that wouldn't have blown up on them. So how close, like how far away do people need to be when I'm blowing those up?
I mean, they can
5-yard range.
Yeah, it's very small. It's very small actually. My only suggestion, if you are clearing mines, you don't need to clear them all. Just clear a path. You know, if you're tanking them in a position and you know where you want them to stack for phase 2, just clear the path from where you are to where you want to go. You don't need to clear everything. Just get rid of whatever you need to, and then people should be able to take that path and get out.
Okay.
All right, so that's everything phase 1. Corpse, I'll let you explain phase 2.
Phase 2? Oh boy.
Yeah. It's not that bad. Phase 2 is not that bad.
So phase 2 is the like gigantic healing check of the fight. It is a much more stressful healing check on 10 man than it is on 25. On 25, it is surprisingly light. And that's mainly because you have so many raid cooldowns in DSACs or masteries and divine hymns. But for the most part, you're just spreading out around the boss, just to minimize his conal AoE damage. And the positioning of the fire makes a rather large impact because it affects how far around the boss you can spread. So if you have fire on, say, half the room and you can only spread out on half the room, it's going to be a lot harder of a fight than it otherwise would be if you only had fire in, say, a third of the room and you could spread out on around 2/3 of the room. So just spread out, have your range spread out around wherever the frost bomb ends up going, which is indirectly affected by how well you placed fire in the first phase. That affects your range positioning and your melee positioning, because you may need to relocate your range into a more clumped up position or move your melee out to range, which lowers their DPS and clumps you guys up farther. Like everything, like what I'm trying to say is that like positioning mistakes of the fire in, say, phase 1 will have a rather large impact on your ability to heal through phase 2, just because the fire is either better or worse. Yeah. Right, and yeah, more DPS solves so many phase 2 issues as well, because it's a big DPS check and healing check, and just if you can DPS it faster and get through the phase, great. Your healers don't have to heal as hard, and if you have baller healers, your DPS can be slacking.
Other thing, I guess a tip would be the fire. There's 2 fires that spawn while you're in the intermediate phase, going from phase 1 to phase 2. Typically, you have the entire raid in the back of the room to baiting the fire, right? You're baiting where it spawns.
Yep.
Between the first and the second one, you can actually have your melee DPS move into like right on top of where the boss is going to spawn, right? Because about 3 to 4 seconds into phase 2, he has his own flame suppressant that he will every couple seconds or
every 10 seconds, 10 to 10 or 15 seconds.
He'll wipe out all the fire in melee range. So if there's a little bit of fire there in the beginning, completely fine. He'll get rid of it before it becomes an issue. But yeah, so as Corpse was saying, it is the actions that you take in phase 1 will directly impact how fast you can kill phase 2 and how much damage your raid will be taking in phase 2. If you have fire all over the place and water bomb gets placed near the raid, that means you have to vacate that area so that you're not going to die. If that means that it's too close to melee, then melee have to stop DPS, which is horrible for phase 2. If you have all your fire in the back of the room, the water bomb's gonna go in the very far back, and you can just ignore it. Perfect. That is like the ideal situation. Way that we do it at Corpse, I don't know about you, but we start DSAC chains like as the first water bomb goes off.
I think ours is based on the fire AoE, like it gets applied to the entire. When that gets applied to the entire raid. So I think we're using one cooldown for each time that applies to the raid, and we forego using a cooldown when he's spinning up because there's literally nothing else to heal.
Yep, that's the time that the healers can catch up. It's kind of just like XT with the ground pound. You can your DPS classes and like Shadow Priest, Divine Hymn, help your healers. Druids, you can trank. Like if you're struggling on phase 2, do your best to stay spread out and help the healers keep everybody alive. Use your defensives during that. Use Healthstones. And then that is the phase that you're typically popping Heroism.
Yep.
And you're just trying to do as much damage as possible to get out of that phase because it is just so much damage. You should always have one person watching for the water bombs and calling out if they're too close to the raid. Because after that first water bomb, right, it can go anywhere. So maybe keep that in mind, and really that is like the DPS check of the fight.
So good idea to have same thing I said about on Iron Council, like make sure to plan your cooldowns so that you have them all when that phase starts.
Yes. So we have an assignment sheet that just says Holy Pally 1 is using his Divine Sack on the first one, and then his Aura Mastery, then the other Holy Pally is using his Divine Sack, and then the Aura Mastery, and then I'm using my Divine Sack. So we just have a laundry list that just says these are these, say, like 7 or 8 cooldowns that we're going to use in order. And so one of our Holy Pallies actually just calls out who's next, for example, because I can't be bothered to pay attention to that while I'm doing other stuff.
That's a Holy Pally's job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then phase 3 is where I feel like a wet noodle, worthless punk as a rogue in both 10 and 25 man. That's as far as I've gotten on both progressions. So I literally just feel like I'm running around not knowing what the heck to do. Okay. What's my prio?
Yeah, I will tell you exactly what you need to do as a rogue.
So, basically, so I solo tank this. I'm assuming most people do. My job is to pick up the junk bots, and I actually pick up the bomb bots as well. So, as Paladin, I've 2 taunts. I can use that on those. We have a DPS DK, go Frost Presence, and kite the assault bots that spawn every time they spawn. So the DPS DK is just spamming Icy Touch into them, and we have another raid member doing a slow, so that whether that be a warrior hamstringing or a rogue crippling poison, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just, the DK is going to spam Icy Touch just for maximum threat generation, and someone else is going to slow the assault bots, because the assault bots come close to one-shotting full geared tanks, let alone DPS DKs and Frost Presence. And the most important part of that fight is to kill the assault bots. It's not to kill the head, it's to kill the assault bots, because there's no other way to die in that fight aside from getting smacked around by an assault bot, either from your assault bot tank getting caught up to, or someone pulling aggro on the assault bots and getting smacked that way.
The bombs can also kill.
So a tank should be grabbing. See, the junk bots are just running all over the place, and I'm trying to chase them down.
Yeah, don't worry about those.
A little differently.
Yeah, so the junk bots don't do much damage. That you don't even need to tank them. They the healers will get annoyed from having to heal through the pushback on them, but they're not lethal damage.
Yeah. Let me go over like what there's multiple different ways you can do this, and it's just demonstrated by what he just explained and what I'm about to explain. Like the way that we do it is kind of backwards. I tank the assault bots in our raid, and as soon as it spawns, I'll Hammer of Justice it, and I'll pump as much threat into it as I possibly can, and then I'll just run away from it. And what we do, we have all the DPS going on that assault bot, and the rogues they'll tell me, hey, I'm about to stun this thing, get ready to come back in here and get some more threat. And it's like, oh, sweet, thanks, dude. He stuns it, I run back in, I hit it with my rotation one more time, and then I book it again. And I tell our rep paladin, and it's like, hey, this next assault bot's about to spawn, go ahead and stun it as soon as you see it. Make sure it's not in the fire, obviously, so I can actually run into it. And then I'll go in and get some more threat, and then just repeat. We have a DK that slows it over and over again. The bomb, we have our feral druid just go bear and run into it and click it, and then it blows up on her. And then the junk bots actually, we just tell everybody, hey, if you have a junk bot on you, run to our Fury Warrior, because he wants the rage anyway, right? So let him whirlwind and pull it off of you, and does more damage to the assault bots. But yeah, a lot of different ways you can do.
But yeah, just regardless of the strategy, the assault bots are the only important thing about that phase, and you need to handle them perfectly. And as long as you're handling them perfectly, it's pretty hard to die, actually. So one of the things we had to do on both 10 and 25 is when an assault bot comes out, everyone switches to it. Not just melee, everyone is switching to every single assault bot. And so once we kill one, have the core ready, we have the guy tanking the head. He'll drag the boss into a safe spot, free from all fire, and the Mimiron will be lowered. And then we'll just DPS as much as possible.
Okay, so you're having. See, our ranged, I think we're still on the head while Melee was trying to take care of the assault box.
Don't do that.
Okay, I'll mention that next week.
Yep. So one thing is, only when the head is like actively down is when we'll deviate from the everyone kill every single assault bot strategy. We'll just kite it for the duration of the head being down, and as soon as the head goes up, everyone swaps to it. It's not like the DPS check is that hard to keep your assault bots in check. So you can spare a little DPS that way. The entire phase is just like, hey, keep the assault bots in line, and as soon as you can drop the head in a safe spot, free from all fire, unload as much DPS as you can onto it, and this rinse repeat. It's a very mobile phase. You're moving around the room a lot to drop the head in a part of the room that's free from fire.
Yeah, one thing we didn't mention is the emergency fire bots. So I would suggest to most people doing this is they're very annoying, right? They silence anybody near them. and they put out fires, which is great. But they also blast water out, and if you're standing in front of them, you'll take damage and you'll get knocked back. My suggestion is just kill them all. Just warlocks, shadow priests, anybody that has a dot, just throw it on it, let it die, and eventually you'll get fire capped, and you don't really have to worry about fire anymore. Unless you have like a really bad area of fire, I would just kill them, because it's so annoying as a prop pally trying to pick things up, and it's just like, oh, I can't, I'm silenced.
Yeah, so that's a 25-man only mechanic, and it makes phase 3 the hardest part of the fight in 25 minutes. Just the emergency firebots have the like 15-yard radius AoE silence around every single assault bot or every single emergency firebot. And so I think on our first kill, and I don't know if we do this anymore, but I think so, we actually assigned one person to just straight up killing the emergency firebots. And I think we went into the last phase with like 2 of them alive, which is, I think, the like intended number. Like if you have 4 or 5, for example, just a large portion of your raid is going to be silenced for the duration of the 4th phase, which isn't going to tend well to you being able to kill the boss. And if you have too little, it's not a huge deal. You don't get the fire cleared, but that's not a huge deal.
Okay. So when you had them killing them, did you have a range assigned to that, or did you have a melee?
Yeah, we had a range, I think. Yeah, because they'll go into fire, right? And try and put them out. So you need someone who can
just
DPS them.
They only
DPS
have 50k
free from
like one rack of dots or a couple dots from every class. They'll die in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, and if you have like too many emergency firebots around the raid, you can just move the raid to an open area free from all the firebots. It's
okay.
Phase 3 on hard mode is just a very mobile phase for everybody on both 10 and 25.
And then the last phase is just all of the previous phases.
Yeah, so kind of
phase 1 and 2's stuff again.
Well, all of them actually. So it's like one mechanic from each phase, right? So the bottom, the tank, will put down mines and do the shock blast every so often. He won't do his big tank buster.
Yeah, plasma blast
thing. Yeah. Phase 2, he'll do the conal AoE, but he won't do the AoE like fire dot thing. And phase 3, there's no ads that spawn, but he will just turret the highest threat target. So it's kind of like you have a minor mechanic from each phase.
And the rocket strike.
Oh, right, that's not a mechanic. That should be too easy to avoid.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, awkward.
Talk to some of my readers. Yeah,
awkward.
My bad. But yeah, so you want to kind of maintain your phase 2-ish positioning of having your range spread around the raid as much as they can. The main problem is that you need to do a lot of movement just to avoid fires and junk like that.
As long as you killed all the emergency bots, you should be fire capped. And besides, you will get water bombs still, right? So your fires will go away. But at the beginning, you should be fire capped. So that'll let you like kind of set up initially and not have to worry about fire. And then what we do is we try to just move to wherever the water bomb detonates at.
Yep.
Afterwards. And then, yeah, as you said, he does the charge up, spin, attack.
Oh, right. Yeah, that. Which is normally a relief when it happens because it gives people time to heal up as long as they don't get themselves killed by face tanking it.
Tank should be taunting the head during phase 4.
Yes, and at the end of phase 3, actually.
Yeah.
So I at least I think this is still true. The tank can taunt the head vehicle at the end of phase 3, and his threat will maintain into the phase 4 combination of all the vehicles.
Oh, nice.
So he'll actually have threat on the head at the start of the phase 4.
Nice. Fully in trouble.
If the tank happens to lose aggro on the head during phase 4, just taunt it. There's nothing else to taunt in that phase. You can just spam taunt on the head and you'll keep aggro.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, guys, that's gonna do it for this part 1. But we're gonna get part 2 next week. I had a feeling this might be like this, but you'll just have to wait for next week. But let's just go ahead and end out the show for now. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. If you want to send us an email, it's WCRpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to join our Discord, interact with the hosts of this show or any show on the Mash Network, it's mash.gg/Discord. How can you get up the show? You can leave us ratings and reviews on Spotify, on iTunes. You can leave us a like and a comment, and click that bell on YouTube. You can go to patreon.com/Warcraft Reloaded. You can go to warcraftreloaded.com/restedxp and use code RELOADED for checkout to save 5% on Rested XP guides. That's how you get up the show. Where can we find you, Corpse?
I don't do any social media.
He's just out there. But if you see someone with a corpse, if you see a corpse, something, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's probably him on Benediction.
It's definitely me.
All right, FruehTV, where can we find you?
All right, so I stream all of my runs just about on Twitch at twitch.tv/FruehTV. My name is actually spelled FRUEH and then TV at the end of it.
Hold on, you kind of cut out a little bit. Say that one more time.
Yeah. So it's gonna be FRUEH TV, and that's at Twitch. I stream all the GDKPs I run. I stream the guild runs. Sometimes I'm playing the Forest in there, the Sons of the Forest. Diablo 4 is about to come out, so I'll probably be playing that a little bit. But if you need me, I'm there, or you can message me on Benediction. Just do /who free, same name, FRUEH.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find me on Twitch and this show live, twitch.tv/BlazinBob. Let's get out of here.
I put out one more thing, actually.
Oh, yeah, go.
Yeah. So I'm sure there's so many kind of little things that you could do on all these bosses. I would love for people to call in and be like, hey, did you know this about some of the bosses that we covered today? Because
I'd love that too.
I'm down for any tips and tricks I can get to make my runs smoother. So there's got to be more stuff out there. So definitely hit us back up. So next week we can throw that stuff out.
Yep. You could also jump in his stream and ask him, although he's going to have to get better at noticing that people are asking him questions. All right. Well, guys, let's get out of here. I got to get to raid and help Mel's brother get some gear so he can have some gear for Ulduar tomorrow.
Nice.
Bye.
Thanks, Bob. Bye, guys.
Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.